Chapter 470. Inside the mountain, the corpse sect disciples were silent. Everyone had a premonition that the familiar great elder had returned. Before this, although all kinds of evidence showed that the young man in front of them was the Grand Elder's possessed body, his personality was very different from Grand Elder Qianhuan's. The benevolent-looking Grand Elder Qianhuan was actually the most ruthless and cruel. Those who disobeyed him in the corpse sect had all become real corpses. This young and handsome face gave Su Shiqi and the dozen people an illusion. No matter how handsome and kind he was, his soul was still Grand Elder Qianhuan's soul. Su Shiqi and the others had forgotten an important thing. There was an unwritten rule in the corpse sect: obey the Grand Elder, and disobey the Grand Elder's corpse. The Grand Elder's skill just now had completely subdued all the corpse sect disciples inside the mountain. No one dared to have any objections. If they left the glory sect, they might be in trouble in the future. If they betrayed the Grand Elder, they had to die now. Who wouldn't want to live a little longer? The glory sect was just an illusion to them. Their lives were more important now. Chen Shiqi gathered his courage and asked softly, "Grand Elder, let's follow the old rules and refine these traitors?" Li Mu waved his hand and said, "No need to waste materials. Lock them up first. They might be useful in the future." Chen Shiqi said respectfully, "Yes, Grand Elder." The dozen people were taken away. The remaining disciples stood even more respectfully at the side. Li Mu moved the corpse sect disciples emotionally and logically. He even gave them the right to choose. The corpse sect disciples were still determined to be loyal to him and stay in the corpse sect. Li Mu was very pleased. He dismissed most of the people and asked, "How's the refining of the 10 demon corpses going?" Speaking of this, Chen Shiqi and the others showed pride on their faces. They said, "Grand Elder, 8 of the demon corpses have all been successfully refined, and their cultivations have all reached the 6th realm. The 8 demon corpses were all 7th realm great demons when they were alive. The demon race's bodies were extremely strong. After death, their corpses could reach the 6th realm through a secret technique. If the White Emperor's corpse received the original memories, his own corpse would be able to reach the 8th realm in a short period of time. He would also have 2 7th realm and 8 6th realm subordinates under him. His strength would even surpass the various Dao sections. No one knew where the White Emperor demonic corpse had run off to. Ever since it escaped from the demonic Emperor space, there had been no news of it. If he could capture it and bring it back, Li Mu would refine it even if he had to sell everything he had. It was the corpse of a 9th-tier elite when it was alive, so it had the potential to become an 8th-tier demonic corpse. Li Mu asked again, "What about the 2 level 8 demonic corpses?" This was what he was most concerned about. They were too powerful when they were alive. If there were no problems during the refinement process, then in principle, after the refinement, their cultivation could reach the 7th level. Speaking of the 2 Yao corpses, Chen Shi said regretfully, reporting to First Elder, "Refining these 8 Yao corpses has already exhausted all of the corpse sect's accumulated resources. We no longer have the materials to refine these 2 corpses." Li Mu had high hopes for the 2 demon corpses. With 2 7th-tier bodyguards behind him, who would dare to speak loudly to him in the future? Li Mu looked at Chen Shi and said, "What other materials do you lack? I will give them to you." Chen Shi counted with his fingers and said, "At least 10,000 pieces of spiritual jade, diamond jade, bone-growing grass, and various other body-refining materials, 49 by 7. Li Mu thought of the less than 1,000 pieces of spiritual jade. He had left and waved his hand. "If you can't gather them all, then slowly gather them. There's no rush." Li Mu stayed in the corpse sect for 2 days, intending to study these 8 Yao corpses properly. He could not count on the 2 Yao corpses for the time being. Although these 8 corpses had all barely reached the 6th tier and would not be a match for a real 6th-tier elite in a one-on-one fight, there was strength in numbers. The 8 corpses formed the 8 Desolation Corpse refining formation, and even a 7th-tier elite would have to avoid it. Only now did Li Mu have some confidence in protecting himself in front of a 7th-tier elite. Qian Huanjun was a genius. He had studied corpses to the extreme in his entire life, and also had high attainments in formations. Li Mu had benefited from his memories until now. Just as Li Mu was studying formations in seclusion, Chen Shi came to report that the Sage sect had sent envoys. Although the corpse sect had become a traitor, they would not be so stupid as to directly fall out with the Sage sect. Chen Shi carefully came to report to Li Mu. Li Mu thought for a while and said, "Go receive them and see what they want." Chen Shi returned to the belly of the mountain and bowed to a man with a black lotus embroidered on his chest. He asked carefully, "May I know the reason for your visit?" The man waved his sleeve, and a corpse appeared on the stone platform in the belly of the mountain. He looked at Chen Shi and the others and said calmly, "I want you to refine this corpse into a Yao corpse. This Yao was a 7th-tier elite when it was alive. How long will it take for you to refine it into a 6th-tier Yao corpse?" If it was a year ago, Chen Shi would have been very excited to see the corpse of such an elite. But now, he had seen bigger scenes. This kind of small scene could no longer cause any ripples in his heart. He pretended to think carefully for a while and said, "At least a year, and it will require a lot of spiritual jades and refining materials. The corpse sect cannot gather them all at once. By the time they do, it will probably be 8 to 10 years later." After all, they had already betrayed the demon sect under the leadership of the Grand Elder. He might as well take the opportunity to extort them. The sage sect envoy frowned and said, 8 to 10 years is too long. What materials do you need? I will bring them to you next time. Chen Shi thought for a long time and said slowly, 20,000 spiritual jades, diamond jade, bone-growing grass, and other body-refining materials. After hearing him, the sage sect envoy's lips trembled and he said angrily, "Do you think I am stupid? Isn't it just refining a corpse? It needs 20,000 spiritual jades and 81 precious materials." Chen Shi shrugged and said, "If you are not willing to pay these, we can also refine it. However, the strength of the spirit corpse refined this way may only be at the 5th tier. The more spiritual jades and the more materials, the stronger the spirit corpse refined will be. If we can gather these materials, the spirit corpse refined will be at most at the middle stage of the 6th tier, infinitely close to the late stage." The anger on the sage sect envoy's face gradually dissipated. Thinking carefully, what this person said made sense. How could the quality of something refined without using materials be the same as something refined with a large amount of precious materials? To him, the stronger the spirit corpse, the better. Although these things were not easy to get, he could go back and apply for them. Since he wanted to refine a corpse, he wanted to refine the best one. He quickly made a decision and said, "I will send these things to you within a month." Chen Shi added, "I will write a list for you in a moment. Remember to make 2 copies of the materials. If 1 copy fails, you have to prepare again and waste time. 2 copies is safer." Li Mu stood in a stone room in the mountainside. After a while, Chen Shi came in with a long list in his hand. He asked, "First Elder, is there anything else you need? Write it down. Anyway, there is only one chance. It would be a waste if you don't write it down." Li Mu felt that what he said made sense. He did not collect the elixirs needed to refine the breakthrough elixir. Those elixirs did not exist on the Zhu continent. Some were in Xian continent, some were in Yuan continent, some were in Changzhou, and some were in Jianghu continent and Fenglin continent. If he wanted to collect them, he would have to go to all 10 continents. He picked up the pen and was about to write when he thought about his handwriting. He handed the pen to Chen Shi and said, "I will say." "You write." Since he had worked undercover for Phantom Princess for a few months, he had developed a good habit of paying attention to details. Not long after, on the mountainside platform, the messenger of the sage sect looked at the list that was long enough to drag on the ground. He said in disbelief, "These are all?" Chen Shi nodded seriously and said, "All of them." The messenger of the sage sect pointed to the bottom part and said, "The rest is fine. These elixirs have nothing to do with refining corpses. What do you want them for?" Chen Shi shook his head and said, "Do you know as much about refining corpses as we do? These elixirs seem to have nothing to do with refining corpses, but their medicinal properties can complement each other and increase the success rate of refining corpses." Chen Shi talked for almost an hour and finally convinced the messenger of the sage sect. He left the demon corpse and flew away with a painful face. Chen Shi watched him go and then let out a long sigh of relief. He said with lingering fear, "If he had not left, I would not have been able to make it up anymore." On the mountainside platform, Li Mu looked at the middle-aged man's corpse on the platform. It looked similar to Phantom Princess. His expression was a little complicated. Chapter 471. Li Mu couldn't be more familiar with the middle-aged man lying on the platform. There was a statue of him in Thousand Fox City. Although Li Mu saw the corpse of the Heavenly Lord of Illusions, it didn't mean that he was dead. Hu Jiu could still be alive without a body, and Qian Huan had died countless times. Even if he was surrounded by 3 cultivators of the same level, the chances of a 7th-level cultivator dying were too small. However, to make a 7th-level cultivator leave his body behind and escape with his soul, it was enough to imagine how fierce the battle was. Chen Shi asked, "Grand Elder, this corpse?" Li Mu waved his hand, and the corpse of the Heavenly Lord of Illusions disappeared. He said, "This is the corpse of the Heavenly Lord. I will keep it for the Huan clan. You can focus on refining the 2 corpses." Chen Shi had already guessed the identity of this corpse, but he didn't dare to use it. He bowed and said, "Yes, Grand Elder." Li Mu said, "I still have something to do. You will be in charge of the corpse sect when I'm not here." Chen Shi cupped his fists and said, "I will not disappoint Grand Elder." Li Mu rewarded him with some Fulu treasures and left the corpse sect. Chen Shi accepted the first elder's reward happily. However, he was a little worried. He could hide it for a while, but he couldn't hide it forever. After a year, if he couldn't hand over the refined corpse of the Lord of Heaven, the sage sect would definitely find out. By then, they would have to face more than just a 5th realm Black Lotus emissary. However, even if he died, he had to refine the 2 corpses. If he could use the corpses of 8th-level cultivators to refine corpses, he would have no regrets even if he died. Chen Shi took a deep breath and began to look forward to the return of the sage sect envoy. 100,000 great mountains. 1,000 demon country. Ever since the fall of the demon emperor, the once unified demon clan had fallen apart. The situation of the major forces ruling over a region had lasted for 3,000 years. Now, the entire demon country was going through a change that hadn't happened in the past 3,000 years. In these 3,000 years, the demon country's forces had never stopped changing. Small demon races rose, large demon races fell, and the various forces swallowed each other up. This happened every few years, but the demon country was always able to maintain a balance. Now, this balance had been broken. Under the secret instigation of the demon path, the once hostile Thousand Fox Nation and Tianlang Nation actually joined hands and began to annex the surrounding large and small monster race forces. The balance of power in the monster nation was broken. Some of the smaller monster races were in constant fear, while some of the larger monster races chose to surrender. There were also some that were unwilling to submit to the demon path and chose to stubbornly resist to the end. The eastern part of the Yao Nation had completely fallen into the territory of the Thousand Fox Nation. In the past, Thousand Fox Nation's sphere of influence was limited to Thousand Fox Nation and its surroundings. They didn't care about the demon clans outside their sphere of influence. Now, under the orders of the new monarch of Thousand Fox Country and the Grand Elder of Meizong Sect, Bai Xian, all the experts of Thousand Fox Country and Meizong Sect were out to sweep the mountains in the eastern part of the demon nation and take in the various demon clans. Those who were willing to submit were sent to Thousand Fox Country to accept orders. Those who were unwilling to submit were exterminated and their demon cores and souls were taken. In recent days, some of the smaller demon clans in the demon nation were exterminated. At this moment, the Rabbit Demon Clan of Tianfeng Mountain was facing such a situation. The Rabbit Demon Clan was one of the weakest demon clans in the demon nation. There were only a dozen or so rabbit demons in this clan, and the strongest was only at the 4th realm. Most of them were small demons who had yet to transform. There were many great demons in the demon nation, and they usually didn't dare to show themselves. They could only hide in their cave abodes on Tianfeng Mountain and cultivate silently. On Tianfeng Mountain, a man with an aquiline nose floated in the air. He looked down at the rabbit demons from above and asked calmly, "Have you thought it through?" The transformed rabbit demons looked at each other and shook their heads. If the Rabbit Demon Clan submitted to the Fox Clan, they would have to go to Thousand Fox Country and be ordered around by the Fox Clan. They wouldn't even have the power to decide their own lives. Not a single rabbit had ever walked out of the Thousand Fox Country alive. It was easy to foresee what would happen to them. They would either be used as cannon fodder and die in battles with other demon clans or become food for the Fox Clan. The 4th Realm Rabbit Demon raised his head and said, "Sir, our Rabbit Demon Clan only wants to cultivate here," the aquiline-nosed man said calmly. "So you're not willing to submit?" Beside him, another subordinate said, "Sir, why are you still talking nonsense with them? Take their demon cores and souls. Tonight, we'll have spicy rabbit heads and rabbit stew." A hint of greed flashed across the aquiline-nosed man's eyes. Although he was ordered by his superiors to take in the rabbit demon clan, it wouldn't do him any good even if he did. He might as well take the demon core of the leading rabbit demon. The other transformed rabbit demons could be used as cauldrons to absorb their dermic powers. As for the remaining rabbit demons who hadn't transformed, he could bring them back and stew them. A hint of bloodlust flashed across his sharp eyes. He said sternly, "Since you're not willing to submit, then die." As soon as he said that, his body swooped down from the sky. Against the weakest rabbit demon, he didn't even bother to use weapons. His hands turned into sharp eagle claws, and his nails shone with a cold light. He grabbed at the fourth realm rabbit demon's abdomen. Although the two demons were both fourth realm, the eagle demon's dermic powers were much stronger than the rabbit demon's. In terms of bloodline, the eagle demon suppressed the rabbit demon. The eagle demon was extremely fast. Although the rabbit demon was more agile and kept dodging, it still couldn't make up for the difference in strength. Poof! At a certain moment, the rabbit demon let out a painful growl. A bloody hole appeared in its abdomen. A bloody demon core floated in the eagle demon's palm. He licked his lips, opened his mouth, and swallowed it directly. Most of the core formation stage demon's cultivation was in the demon core. After losing the demon core, the rabbit demon's cultivation immediately fell to the transformation stage. The rabbit demon didn't care about wiping the blood at the corner of his mouth. He gritted his teeth and said, "Run, big brother." The other female rabbit demons had tears of grief and anger on their faces. When they wanted to escape, they found that they were already surrounded by the eagle demon's subordinates. The eagle demon licked the blood at the corner of his mouth and said, "Kill all the male rabbits. Keep the female rabbits and send them to my room tonight." Just as the demons were about to attack, a ray of light flashed across their heads. A young eagle demon raised his head and said angrily, "Who is it? Come down." The eagle demon clan had pledged allegiance to the Thousand Fox country. No one in the demon kingdom dared to provoke them. Someone actually dared to fly over their heads. The ray of light had already flown over, but when it heard the voice, it flew back and landed on the mountain peak. It was a young and handsome human man. He looked at the young eagle demon and asked, "You called me?" When the eagle demon saw Li Mu, he was stunned for a moment and blurted out, "Human?" The demon kingdom was a forbidden area for humans. Who would have the guts to swagger in the air here? His cultivation shouldn't be high. He didn't expect that not only would he be able to eat a demon core today, he would also be able to swallow a human primordial spirit. The eagle demon was overjoyed and immediately flew towards the young human. A ray of golden light flew out from the young man's hand and turned into a rope that wrapped around the eagle demon's neck. The eagle demon felt that the spiritual power in his body couldn't circulate and fell from the sky. He was shocked and knew that this person was not to be trifled with. He immediately shouted, "I'm a disciple of the Meizong sect in the Thousand Fox country. If you dare to hurt me, the Meizong sect won't let you go." Meizong sect? Li Mu glanced at him and shook his head. The Meizong sect is getting more and more casual with their recruitment. He came to the Thousand Fox country alone and just happened to lack first-hand information. He was still worried about where to ask when a demon came to him. Li Mu directly pressed his hand on the eagle demon's head and forcefully searched his soul. The Glory sect sent 3 elders to ambush the Heavenly Lord of Myriad Illusions who was in seclusion. The Heavenly Lord of Myriad Illusions was severely injured and only his primordial spirit managed to escape. The 3 Glory sect elders were also severely injured and are recuperating in the Thousand Fox country. With the help of the Glory sect elders, Bai Xian's cultivation base has broken through to the 6th level. He is now the king of the Thousand Fox country and the great elder of Meizong sect. He is currently looking for Huan Ji in the entire demon country. The information Li Mu found from the eagle demon was similar to what he heard from Lord Ju, but more detailed. The Lord of Illusions was indeed not dead. For existences like them, as long as a trace of their primordial spirit was still alive, it was difficult for them to completely die. The fact that primordial spirit was not captured was also good news. In addition, the demon path really wanted the celestial wolf tribe and the Thousand Fox country to unify the entire demon kingdom. Their goal was self-evident. When the demon kingdom was unified, it would be the time for them to wage war against the Great Zhou. Li Mu finished searching the eagle demon's memories for the past few months. The eagle demon's expression became dull. His mouth opened and saliva flowed out. He let go of his hand and the demon fell to the ground. Then he saw a few rabbit demons standing in the distance, looking at him in horror and trembling. Li Mu's throat moved. Wuxia was right. Lady Rabbit and Lady Cat were much cuter than the other demons. Although they had transformed into human form, they still retained their long, furry ears. At this moment, due to the shock, their rabbit ears were drooping. Their hands were hanging in front of their chests, and their beautiful faces were pale. However, they looked even cuter and could easily arouse the pity of others. Li Mu could not help but want to go up and rub their ears. Chapter 472. In the end, Li Mu resisted the urge to rub the rabbit. Once he was done with the demon nation, it would be better to rub Xiaobai when he returned home. Moreover, there was a bloody male rabbit beside him. He could not rub the female rabbit's ears. The male rabbit demon's demon core was dug out by Eagle 7. His cultivation level was greatly reduced. Although he would not die, his previous cultivation was completely ruined. It would be almost impossible for him to cultivate to the fourth realm in the future. The demon nation was an extremely cruel place. Big demons ate small demons, and small demons ate even smaller demons. Rabbit demons were basically at the bottom of the food chain. Li Mu sensed the mixed demonic aura below and did not want to join in the fun. If not for the little eagle's shout, he might not have come down to meddle in other people's business. But since he came down, Li Mu could not bear to see the rabbit demon's blood continue to flow. In the end, his heart softened. With a flip of his hand, an elixir appeared in his palm. He threw it to the rabbit demon and said, "Eat it and heal yourself." The rabbit demon held the elixir that was filled with spirit chi and said gratefully, "Thank you, benefactor." "Thank you." Li Mu ignored the rabbit demon and thought about how to deal with the 3 eagle demons. Besides the 4th realm eagle demon that he searched the soul of just now, there were 2 other little eagles here. The little eagle that was talkative just now was now pale. His intestines were green with regret. Because of what he said just now, the king had become an idiot. He did not know what would happen to him. The 2 little eagles looked at each other and immediately revealed their true forms. They were 2 goshawks. When they spread their wings, they were more than 10 feet long. They did not even care about the king as they spread their wings and flew into the sky. Li Mu's figure disappeared from where he was. Then there were 2 bangs in the air. A few feathers slowly floated down. The 2 goshawks fell to the ground. There was a footprint on each of their backs. Li Mu had already thought of the next step of the plan. Of course, he would not let them run away just like that. The 2 little eagles fainted from the fall. The rest of the rabbit demons surrounded them. The male rabbit demon's wound was no longer bleeding. He knelt on the ground and bowed to Li Mu with his hands clasped. He said, "Thank you, benefactor, for saving us." The female rabbit demons knelt down to express their gratitude. Even those rabbits that had yet to transform also knelt on the ground and kowtowed incessantly. Li Mu waved his hand and said, "Consider yourself lucky. I can save you this time, but I can't save you next time. You better find another place to cultivate," the male rabbit demon said. "Little demons plead for benefactor to take us in. We are willing to do anything for benefactor to repay your kindness." Li Mu did not need him to work like an ox or a horse. Making spicy rabbit heads was more like it. However, as the saying went, save the rabbit to the end, and send the Buddha to the west. The situation in the Yao nation had changed. If Li Mu abandoned them, they would still be on the same path. That would mean that he had saved them for nothing. He thought for a moment and said, "The Yao nation is no longer safe. You can go to the Great Zhou's North County or Jianghu County and seek refuge with the demon minister of these 2 counties. After becoming a demon citizen of the Great Zhou, as long as you abide by the law, no one can bully you. If you're willing to go, help me bring these 3 eagles over. Tell the demon order to let the 3 of them reform through labor." After hearing Li Mu describe the treatment of the demon citizens of the Great Zhou, the rabbit demons looked expectant. Li Mu handed the eagle demon to them and turned into the eagle demon's appearance. This scene made the rabbit demons widen their eyes. After the male rabbit demon came back to his senses, he asked carefully, "Benefactor, are you going to the 1,000 Fox Nation?" Li Mu did not answer. The rabbit demon thought for a moment and said, "Benefactor, if you're going to the 1,000 Fox Nation, it's best to bring us along. That way, it'll be easier to gain their trust." Li Mu thought carefully. The rabbit demon's words made sense. If he returned to the Thousand Fox Nation empty-handed as an eagle, it meant that his mission had failed. The Meizong sect would definitely send someone else. If he brought this nest of rabbits with him, the rabbit demon's matter would end here. That makes sense. I'll pick a few people to go to the Thousand Fox Nation with me. Li Mu thought for a moment and pointed at the male rabbit demon. The male rabbit demon's face lit up. Li Mu said, "Take the rabbits who haven't transformed and these 3 eagles to the Great Show. The rest of you, follow me to the Thousand Fox Nation." The male rabbit demon looked at his 4 sisters. Other than him and the rabbit demon who hadn't transformed, they were the others. The Thousand Fox Nation. Li Mu stood at the city gate with 4 rabbit demons behind him. Other than the male rabbit demon and the rabbit who hadn't transformed, there were only 4 female rabbit demons left in the Little Rabbit clan. The 4 rabbit demons looked exactly the same. They were sisters from the same nest. Li Mu sighed in his heart. Things were the same, but the people had changed. At the gate of the Thousand Fox City, a leopard demon looked envious. He said, "Eagle 7, you're so lucky. You caught 4 rabbit demons, and they look exactly the same. Give me 2, even 1. Li Mu waved his hand and said, "Get lost. If I give you 1, the 4 sisters will become 3 sisters. What's the point of that?" The leopard demon spat in his heart. This perverted eagle's luck was really good to the extreme. Rabbits always gave birth to litters, and there were many sisters. However, it was rare to see all 4 sisters cultivate into a human form. Why didn't such a good thing fall on his head? Li Mu led the 4 rabbit demons into the city and came to a courtyard in the city. As a 4th realm demon, Eagle 7's strength wasn't top-notch, but he wasn't weak either. He had a small house in the city where only 1 eagle lived. Now he had 4 more rabbits. Everyone knew that Eagle 7 was a LSP. Every month, he was given spiritual jades not to cultivate, but to rescue female demons who had lost their footing. In the Thousand Fox country, it was very common for female demons to exchange their bodies for cultivation resources. Now that he caught 4 rabbits from outside, no one doubted him. Everyone was only envious. In Eagle 7's house, Li Mu sat on a chair. 2 rabbit demons were massaging his shoulders and 2 other rabbit demons were massaging his legs. The rabbit demon's surname was Bai. The 4 sisters were called Jingjing, Yingying, Xiaoxiao, and Rongrong. They were cute and obedient. Li Mu even wondered if he should keep them in the future and let them serve Lu Hanyan and Li Qing. Wan was already half the master of the house. It wasn't appropriate for her to be a maid. Li Mu didn't stay in the house for long before a bell rang from the direction of the imperial palace. When the bell rang, all the disciples of the Meizong sect in the city had to rush to the gathering place within 15 minutes. Li Mu ordered the 4 sisters to wait in the house. He flew in the direction of the imperial palace. This gathering should be to assign new tasks. After the internal strife of the Meizong sect, a large number of experts were lost. Later, when Bai Xian took power, there was no one under his command. He lowered the standards and recruited many people. The ugly Eagle 7 was summoned at that time. He had greatly lowered the appearance of the Meizong sect. Li Mu arrived at the gathering place. After glancing around, he thought to himself, the Meizong sect only exists in name. In the past, every member of Meizong sect was a handsome man and a beautiful woman. They could easily infiltrate the enemy's inner circle and become undercover agents. Now, Meizong sect's repulsive members would attract the attention of the inner guards because of their looks, let alone infiltrating the imperial court. Li Mu landed on the square in front of the imperial palace. The leopard demon that he saw at the city gate just now walked over. He put his arm around his shoulder and said, "Eagle 7, I don't want you to send me off. When you're tired of playing with them, you can let me play with them, okay?" Li Mu said, "You'd better find them yourself. I'll play with those 4 rabbits for a year." Leopard 5 let go of Li Mu and said, "Stingy. Don't expect me to think of you when there's something good next time." Li Mu ignored him and went to the front to receive the task. After Bai Xian took over, he made some changes to the rules of the Meizong sect. In order to avoid serious consequences caused by spies, all the disciples of the Meizong sect would not be in the same position for a long time. They would randomly receive tasks. This time, the task was to guard the city gate. The next task might be to go out and subdue the demon clan or patrol the streets. In this way, Even if there were spies, it would be difficult for them to do anything in a limited time. In front of the crowd, an elder of the Meizong sect shouted, "Eagle 7. Li Mu stood up and said, "Here." The elder handed him a token and said, "Your task for these 3 days is to guard Huan Yun. After 3 days, there will be a new task." Li Mu's eyes flashed and he said in a deep voice, "Yes." Chapter 473. Huan Yun, the son of Heaven Lord of Illusion and the Grand Elder of Meizong, was the most important criminal in Thousand Fox City. During the internal strife of Meizong, he and some other elders of Meizong who disobeyed the Bai family had their cultivation sealed and were locked in the dungeon under the palace. Other than Huan Ji, who was not in Thousand Fox Country, Hu Lu, Hu Jiao, and all the other elders of Meizong who were loyal to Heaven Lord were captured by the Bai family. Although Huan Yun was powerful, he could only surrender in front of the 7th Realm Elders of Sage Sect. Li Mu and the other 2 demons walked into the palace and went down the stone steps into the mountain. In the past 3 days, Leopard 5 and Pig 8 were guarding Huan Yun and the others. Perhaps it was because he was a traitor, but after Bai Xian took power, he treated everything with extreme caution. Even a small task like guarding the door was assigned to the 3 demons. The 3 demons cooperated with each other and supervised each other. No one could play any tricks in the dark. After arriving at the dungeon, Pig 8 snorted and sat comfortably on the chair. He said, "It's so comfortable here. It's much better than guarding the city gate. I have to be exposed to the sun outside. You guys keep watch, I'll take a nap." Lazy pig. Leopard 5 snorted and walked deeper into the dungeon. Li Mu followed behind Leopard 5. Their duty was to guard these criminals and prevent them from escaping from the dungeon. If anything happened, they had to report it to their superiors immediately. These former Meizong sect elites had their cultivation sealed. The chains passed through their shoulder blades and they were covered in wounds. Their auras were very weak. Leopard 5 walked all the way to the innermost part of the dungeon. He picked up the whip on the rack and whipped it hard at a figure tied to the rack. The figure's hands and feet were tied. There were also chains passing through his shoulder blades. His hair was disheveled and he looked at Leopard 5 indifferently. Leopard 5 was frightened by this gaze. But he soon realized that no matter how powerful he was in the past and how high his status was, he was just a prisoner now. What was there to be afraid of? Thinking of this, he waved the whip even more frequently. "Do you still think you're the Grand Elder of Meizong sect? How dare you look at me like this? Try looking again." In the past, he didn't even have the qualifications to be looked at by Huan Yun. Now, he could stand in front of Huan Yun and humiliate him. This made Leopard 5 feel a sense of accomplishment. It was the current Great Elder Bai Xian's idea to humiliate Huan Yun every day. Not only was he following orders, but he also enjoyed the pleasure of tormenting experts. Huan Yun's cultivation had been sealed, so this kind of whip could not hurt him. However, the physical pain and psychological humiliation were unavoidable. After whipping himself for a while, Leopard 5 handed the whip to Li Mu and said, "Eagle 7, do you want to come?" Li Mu waved his hand and said, "Do it yourself. I'll study other torture devices." Leopard 5's excitement had already worn off. He returned to the torture chamber at the front and called Zhu 8 to gamble with spirit jades. Li Mu picked up a soldering iron and a pair of scissors. The torture tools in Thousand Fox Nation were even more varied than those in the Ministry of Justice. In the end, Li Mu didn't pick up any of them. He walked forward and patted Huan Yun's face. Shaking his head, he said, "I didn't expect that a 6th realm cultivator would end up like this." After saying that, he turned and left. Huan Yun felt a surge of dermic powers in his body, erasing all his pain and slowly repairing his body. He slowly raised his head and looked at the departing figure. In the dungeon, Leopard 5 and Zhu 8 were gambling with spirit jades. Li Mu sat on a chair and closed his eyes to rest. It wasn't that he couldn't save Huan Yun. However, if he did, it would definitely cause a commotion. His identity was also very likely to be exposed. For the sake of the big picture, it was better to let Huan Yun suffer a little first. The Imperial Court's alliance with the Nine Heaven Snake Clan and the Tian Shan Bear Clan was rejected. Li Mu's reputation was no greater than that of the Dean of White Deer Academy. It was very likely that these 2 clans would ignore him. Therefore, Li Mu didn't want to ally with them from the beginning. The simplest way was to help Huan Ji regain control of Thousand Fox Nation and destroy the demon sect's plan. However, those 3 old fellows were still here. It was not easy to do that. If there was only one of them, it would be fine. However, he couldn't deal with 3 Seventh Realm experts no matter what. Li Mu didn't believe that these 3 old fellows would stay here forever. Although the demon sect's foundation was deep, there wouldn't be many 7th Realm experts. These 3 people definitely wouldn't stay here forever. Li Mu looked at Leopard 5 and said casually, "Old 5, aren't you afraid that the Heavenly Monarch will come back and regain control of the demon sect? When that time comes, you will be skinned alive by the Heavenly Monarch." These words made Leopard 5 tremble. Then, he waved his hand and said, "His primordial spirit is severely injured. It's impossible for him to come back. Besides, even if he comes back, the elders of the demon sect won't let him go." Li Mu asked in return, "Will the 3 elders stay here forever?" Leopard 5 said, "Don't worry. Although 2 elders have already returned to the Saint sect to recuperate, there is still 1 elder who will remain here until we unify the demon nation. If the Heavenly Monarch dares to return, only death awaits him." Li Mu patted his chest and said, "Then I'm relieved." Now he was really relieved. It turned out that Thousand Fox Nation only had 1 injured 7th Realm expert. 1 7th Realm expert couldn't break the defense of the Dao Bell at all. Li Mu set up the 8 Desolation Corpse refining array. Even if he couldn't kill him, he could trap him. If Chen Shi and the others finished refining the last 2 demon corpses and the 3 elders of Yu and Ming gathered, he wouldn't be afraid. The problem now was how to find Huan Ji. Only by finding Huan Ji could his plan continue. However, there was someone more anxious than him about finding Huan Ji. After Bai Xian took over, he sent out most of the experts of Meizong and Thousand Fox Nation to capture Huan Ji. Li Mu's strength alone couldn't compare to all of them. The only thing he needed to do was to wait. Li Mu was watching Leopard 5 and Piggy 8 gamble with spirit jades when he suddenly heard footsteps outside. The 2 escorted a woman in. The woman's figure was plump and her looks were also top-notch. Although she wasn't young, she had a mature charm. Leopard 5 and Piggy 8 glanced at her and couldn't move their eyes away. A handsome man walked in front. Leopard 5 and Piggy 8 immediately stood up and said respectfully, "Greetings, Grand Elder." Li Mu also stood up and bowed. Bai Xian didn't even look at them and just waved his hand casually. He looked back at the voluptuous woman and said, "The Huan family has become a thing of the past. Why are you so stubborn? I don't want to attack my own people anymore. If you're willing to submit, you'll still be an elder of Meizong, and your status will be even higher than before." The voluptuous woman spat and gritted her teeth. "You traitor! You betrayed your master, senior brothers, and junior sisters. I feel disgusted just by looking at you. You'll die a horrible death." Slap. Bai Xian's face sank and mercilessly gave her a slap. A handprint immediately appeared on the woman's face. Bai Xian didn't give her a second chance. He glanced at Leopard 5 and the other 2 demons and said, "I'll leave her to you." Leopard 5 looked at the voluptuous woman and swallowed his saliva. He asked, "Grand Elder, can we do whatever we want with her?" Bai Xian patted his shoulder and said, "You can be bolder." With that, he turned and left. Leopard 5 licked his lips. Just as he was about to walk toward the voluptuous woman, a figure blocked his path. Eagle 7 looked at him and said, "You think I don't exist?" Chapter 474. Leopard 5 looked at Eagle 7 who was standing in front of him. His expression turned ugly as he asked, "You want to fight with me?" Li Mu said lightly, "Grand Elder said to let us deal with it, not you. What right do you have to make the decision?" After that, he didn't forget to look at the pig demon beside him and asked, "Don't you think so, Zhuba?" Zhuba shook his head and said, "You can fight among yourselves. I'm not interested." Leopard 5 looked at Li Mu and said angrily, "Don't you already have those 4 rabbits?" Li Mu glanced at him and said, "Although I have 4 rabbits, I still want a fox." "I haven't tasted a fox yet," Leopard 5 snorted and said, "How can there be such a good thing? Either you give me the 4 rabbits and I'll give you the fox, or you don't fight with me." Li Mu refused. "Sorry, I'm a person. Sorry, I'm a demon. I always want everything." Leopard 5 didn't waste any more words with Li Mu. He gritted his teeth and asked, You mean you want to fight with me? Li Mu said, same old rules. Whoever wins gets the fox. The demon race respected strength and also worshipped the strong. Under such circumstances, it was common to determine the winner through battle. Only the winner had the right to speak. Leopard 5 snorted and said, Don't forget, you lost to me 3 times. I won't show mercy later. Li Mu grinned and said, Coincidentally, I just ate a rabbit demon's inner core. My magic power increased greatly, and I was just about to take revenge on you. This wasn't the place to fight. The two walked out of the dungeon and saw Bai Xian standing outside with his arms crossed. He was looking at them with interest. Leopard 5 wasn't confident and asked, Grand Elder Wei. Bai Xian waved his hand and said, It's okay. You guys fight. Don't worry about me. Although he had not caught Huan Ji, he had caught Hu Lu. He was in a good mood today. When he heard the conversation between the eagle and the demon, he had the urge to watch the show. In an open space outside the entrance of the dungeon, both of them had thrown away their weapons. For the demon race, their bodies were their most powerful magical weapons. Under normal circumstances, they would also choose this kind of primitive and violent method to fight. Leopard 5 had been enduring Eagle 7 for a long time. Not only because he had obtained quadruplet rabbit demons, but also because of his greed. He faced the sky and let out a roar. Black fur grew on the outside of his body. His eyes turned red, and his arms turned into leopard claws. His sharp nails shone with a cold light. He bared his fangs and said, Mixed hairbird, I'm going to pluck all your feathers today. As soon as he finished speaking, he, who had already turned into a half-demon, shot towards Li Mu. His speed was extremely fast, so fast that several afterimages appeared in the void. Speed was the leopard clan's racial talent. Although Leopard 5 was only at the 4th realm, if he unleashed his full speed, a typical 5th realm demon would be able to catch up to him in no time. Behind Bai Xian, the demons watched with trepidation. This leopard demon relied on speed. It would be hard to find a match for him in the same realm. Then, they looked at the eagle demon opposite them. Although this demon did not reveal his true form, his hands had already turned into claws. His hands looked white and slender, but it was definitely not a problem for him to split gold and stone. The leopard demon was the fastest on the ground. The sky was the eagle demon's territory. If they were to compete in speed, the eagle demon would definitely win against the leopard demon of the same realm. However, the leopard demon still had the advantage in a physical fight on the ground. It could be seen from this battle. The eagle demon was at a disadvantage almost from the beginning. The reason he did not lose was because his fighting style was too ruthless. He was almost sacrificing himself to injure the eagle demon. The leopard demon did not want to exchange injuries with him. He went from being proactive in the beginning to being passive in defense. At the edge of the open space, Bai Xian looked at the eagle demon with admiration. He did not lack powerful warriors, but he lacked such fearless warriors. The snake under Huan Ji's command was like this. Bai Xian used to envy Huan Ji for having such a subordinate. Now he had one too. Whoosh! Leopard 5's sharp claws cut through the air and left a few bloody grooves on Eagle 7's arm. However, Eagle 7's claws also landed on his abdomen. If Leopard 5 did not dodge quickly, this claw would have dug out his demon core. Even so, a wound was left on his abdomen. Leopard 5's face was pale and his eyes were filled with fear. He was scared. He was really scared. He only wanted a female fox, but Eagle 7 wanted his life. Wasn't it just a woman? He could just give it to him. This perverted eagle. It was not enough that he had 4 female rabbits at home. He would not even let a female fox go. Sooner or later, all his fur would fall off from excessive indulgence. Thinking of this, Leopard 5 retreated as fast as he could and shouted, I won't fight with you. I won't fight with you, okay? You lunatic. At this moment, there were a few wounds on his body that were still bleeding. However, Eagle 7 was even more miserable. There were more than a dozen wounds on his body and he was covered in blood. Although his cultivation was not high, the aura he emitted made even Realm 5 demons tremble in fear. He was like an Azura that walked out of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Bai Xian walked out slowly and looked at him. He asked, What's your name? Li Mu wiped the blood on his face and said, Your subordinate is Eagle 7. Bai Xian said, You can tell me your real name. When the demons around him heard this, They were all surprised. Leopard 5 was about to go crazy with jealousy. Most of the demons in Thousand Fox Country did not have names. For example, Leopard 5, Pig 8, and Eagle 7. Only the strong had the right to give human names. For example, the Fox Country royal family and the former Grand Elder Huan Yun and Elder Huan Ji. The fact that the Grand Elder allowed Eagle 7 to have a name meant that he admired Eagle 7 a lot. The demons that were given names by him were all powerful elders of Meizong. Li Mu thought for a moment and said, "My surname is Peng. Because my mother likes to eat fish and my father likes to eat geese, they call me Peng Yuyan." Bai Xian asked, "Peng Yuyan, are you willing to become my personal guard?" Li Mu cupped his fists and bowed. He said loudly, "Your subordinate is willing." Bai Xian stretched out his hand. With a flash of white light, a pill appeared in his palm. He threw the pill to Li Mu and said, "After you're healed, report to the palace." Li Mu said in a deep voice, "Yes." Bai Xian looked at him one last time and left with his hands behind his back. Even though Leopard 5 was extremely jealous, he still ran up immediately and said with a smile, "I was wrong in the past. I hope Commander Eagle will be magnanimous and not blame me." Li Mu could not be bothered with him and strode towards the dungeon. Leopard 5 still had a smile on his face, but he was cursing in his heart. This old pervert was so impatient. He would die in a woman's belly sooner or later. Then, he hurriedly chased after him and said, "Commander Eagle, I'll arrange it for you." Not long after, in a sealed cell in the dungeon, whose 6 cultivation was sealed. At this moment, she was no different from an ordinary human woman. She had always been fearless, but now, she had a panicked expression on her face. Leopard 5 closed the door of the cell and shouted from outside, "I'll be right outside. If Commander Eagle needs anything, just tell me." Li Mu walked toward Hu 6 step by step. Hu 6 looked at the eagle demon covered in blood, her beautiful face full of despair. As he slowly approached, Hu 6 suddenly slammed her head against the wall. Li Mu stretched out his hand and an invisible force controlled her. Li Mu looked at Hu 6 and said indifferently, "Although your cultivation is sealed, you're still a 5th realm expert. Even if your body is dead, your primordial spirit is still here." Hu 6 said fiercely, "I don't believe you're still interested in a corpse." Li Mu smiled and said, "I won't let you become a corpse." Hu 6 knew that she couldn't die even if she wanted to. She closed her eyes in despair and said unwillingly, "If I knew I would be tainted by a beast like you, I would have let that Li guy take advantage of me earlier." Li Mu stopped in his tracks. He had something to say but didn't know where to go. He glanced at Hu 6 and said with his voice, "In your dreams." "I told you you're too old. I don't want you. It's better if it's Phantom Princess." Hu 6 was stunned. She pointed at Li Mu and was so shocked that she couldn't speak. You. Li Mu continued, "Stupid fox, it wasn't easy for me to come in undercover. Don't ruin it." Hu 6 was stunned for a long time. Then, she sat on the ground and hugged her knees as she cried. After falling into Bai Xian's hands, she met 2 lechers. She thought that she was about to face the darkest moment of her life. She didn't expect that the lechers would be lechers, but they were the lechers she wanted to see even in her dreams. Although she didn't get along well with Li Mu every time they met, it was really great to see him here. In just an instant, she went from a harsh winter to a warm spring. This happiness made her want to cry. Outside the door, Leopard 5 sighed. This beautiful fox demon was also taken by that mixed hairbird. That mixed hairbird must have already started his operation. Just listen to how sad this fox demon is crying. Inside the cell, Li Mu squatted down and nudged Hu 6 who was sobbing softly. "Don't cry. Can you scream a little? That way, your acting will be more realistic." Chapter 475. Outside the cell, Leopard 5 put his ear to the door. The door suddenly opened and he almost went in. Li Mu looked at him with an unfriendly expression and asked, "What are you doing here?" Leopard 5 said seriously, "I'm here waiting for Commander Eagle's orders." Li Mu kicked him in the butt and said mercilessly, "I don't need you here. Get lost." I'll get lost." Leopard 5 patted his butt and ran away obediently. However, he was complaining in his heart. This Eagle 7 is not only lecherous but also stingy. He won't lose anything by listening to her voice. Li Mu walked back to the cell and dispelled the idea of asking who's six to bark. That scene was too embarrassing. Not only was Fox 6 embarrassed, but Li Mu was also embarrassed. He decided to stay here for 2 hours. Besides Fox 6, no one would know what he was doing in these 2 hours. Hu Lu was no longer crying. Instead, she silently untied her skirt. Li Mu was stunned and said, "What are you doing?" Fox 6 took off her skirt and only wore a pink doo-doo. She said, "You're still being wishy-washy at this time. Are you waiting for me to help you take it off?" Li Mu waved his hand and she put her skirt back on. He explained to Fox 6, "I came up with a temporary solution to save you. If I didn't stand up, the one standing here would be that leopard." Fox 6 said, "I know you don't like me, but there's no other way. Do you want to fail your undercover mission?" Li Mu said, "I'll stay here for 2 hours. If you cooperate with me and scream, it'll be easy to fool him." Fox 6 shook her head and said, "You're thinking too simply. Bai Xian can tell at a glance whether I'm a virgin or not. The next time he sees me, it'll be the time your identity will be exposed." Li Mu stood there in a daze. It wasn't until now that he realized he had made a fatal mistake. The Fox clan had a special talent. Whether the other party was a human or a demon, they could tell whether the other party was a virgin or not. Xiao Bai had displayed this talent in front of him more than once. In other words, as long as the experts of the Fox clan looked at Hu Lu, they would know that Li Mu hadn't done anything to her this time. Then they would suspect him. At that time, all of Li Mu's previous efforts would be wasted. Li Mu glanced at Fox 6 and couldn't help but complain, "You're not young anymore. Why haven't you found a partner yet?" Not to be outdone, Hu Lu said, "I'm only 2 years older than the Empress of Great Zhou. Isn't she still a virgin?" Li Mu knocked on her head. "How dare you? His Majesty is not someone a fox like you can talk about." Fox 6 rubbed his head and lay on the bed as if he had given up. He said, "Then think of a way." "I don't care anymore." Li Mu rubbed his chin and thought of a solution. Although Hu Lu had already accepted her fate and laid down, it was impossible for him to turn her from a young girl into a woman if he really had sex with her. He was not a casual man, but he absolutely could not expose himself. If it was possible, Li Mu wanted Hu Lu to do it herself, but the Fox clan's supernatural power did not depend on that kind of thing. Men were yang and women were yin. Before the yin and yang intercourse, the yang and yin qi of a man and woman would be pure without any impurities. After the yin and yang intercourse there would be yang and yin and yang. Even if it was only once, the yin and yang would no longer be pure. The Fox clan was very sensitive to the yin and yang qi of living things. They could use this to observe whether a man was a young man or a woman. In the eyes of the Fox clan, anything was what it was. Whether it was a transvestite or a transvestite, nothing could be hidden from the eyes of the Fox clan. Li Mu couldn't do anything about it at the moment, so he decided not to think about it. He asked Hu Lu, "Where's Phantom Princess?" Worry appeared in Hu Lu's eyes. She said, "I don't know. Bai Xian sent people to chase us. Lord Phantom Princess, Hu Jiao, and I escaped separately. Bai Xian shouldn't have caught them yet." She got up from the bed and looked at Li Mu. She asked, "What are you doing here? You know the art of transformation. Have you reached the 6th realm?" Li Mu glanced at her and said, "Have you forgotten what I do? It's just a matter of a disguised talisman. As for why I'm here, it's because you forced me. Who doesn't know that after the Fox clan and the Wolf clan unify the Demon Nation, their next target will be the Great Zhou? How can I just stand by and watch?" Hu Lu gritted her teeth and said, "It's all because of that traitor Bai Xian. He colluded with the Sage Sect's elder and ambushed the Lord of Heaven. He even imprisoned the Great Elder. In principle, the Lord of Illusion was the traitor of the diabolism. Bai Xian and the Sage Sect's elder were just cleaning up the sect. However, Li Mu was also a traitor of the diabolism. Not only did he betray the diabolism, but he also led a group of traitors of the corpse sect to steal the Sage Sect's wool. He also had no right to speak here." He looked at Hu Lu and said, "If I help Phantom Princess return to the Thousand Fox country and regain control of the Meizong sect, do you dare to go against the Sage sect?" Hu Lu immediately asked, "Are you willing to help Lord Phantom Princess regain control of the Meizong sect?" Li Mu thought for a moment and said, "You can't make the decision on this matter. Let's talk about it after seeing Phantom Princess. He walked to the door and said, "You stay here first. I can't stay here for too long. I'll contact you in the next few days." Li Mu's original plan was to stay here for 2 hours. During these 2 hours, Hu Lu would cooperate with him to make a symbolic call, and then he would go out. No one would suspect anything. Who would have thought that Hu Lu, an old fox, would mess up Li Mu's plan like Mr. Mei, Shangguan Li, and His Majesty? He could only find another reason. In the dungeon, Leopard 5 was stunned when he saw Eagle 7 walk out of the cell after only half an hour. He blurted out, "So fast." Li Mu said angrily, "Who are you scolding?" Leopard 5 knew that he had said something wrong, so he immediately smiled apologetically and said, "Commander Eagle, why don't you play with her for a while?" Li Mu said, "I didn't expect that fox to be a virgin. The purine in her body is still there. Wouldn't it be a waste to push her away now? When I completely refine the Snake Demon's demon core and improve my cultivation, I can use her purine to break through to the 5th realm and become an elder." He looked at Leopard 5 and Pig 8 and warned, "Right, that fox is mine. If any one of you dares to touch her, I'll cut off your manhood and make it into wine." Pig 8 quickly said, "You know I'm not interested in foxes." Leopard 5 also promised. After Li Mu left, Leopard 5's eyes were filled with jealousy. All of this was supposed to be his, but Eagle 7 took it away from him. When Eagle 7's cultivation broke through, the gap between him and this mixed eagle would be irreparable. After Leopard 5's jealousy, he was also very regretful. If he had risked his life like Eagle 7 just now, perhaps he would have been appreciated by the Grand Elder and become the Grand Elder's personal guard. His future as a demon would be limitless. Unfortunately, there were no ifs. Li Mu's excuse was excellent. No one suspected that there was a problem with Eagle 7's identity. However, many people suspected that there was a problem with his body. 2 days later, a small circle of Meizong sect began to spread that Eagle 7's body couldn't take it anymore. In less than 10 minutes, he surrendered his spear to the fox demon. As for keeping the purine, it was just an excuse for him to cover up his inability. It wasn't until some meddlesome Meizong experts went to the dungeon to take a look and found that the fox demon's purine was indeed still there that the rumor was dispelled. The first purine of a 5th realm fox demon was so precious that many demons were drooling over it. The prisoners in the dungeon could be dealt with at will. As long as they were alive, the Grand Elder wouldn't care. However, no one dared to have any thoughts about that fox. Firstly, that eagle was lucky enough to be appreciated by the Grand Elder and became his personal guard. His status was above ordinary Meizong sect disciples and no one was willing to offend him. Secondly, many people had seen the battle between Eagle 7 and Leopard 5 that day. That kind of fearless and suicidal fighting style had left a deep psychological shadow in many people's hearts. After that battle, everyone in Thousand Fox Country knew that Eagle 7 was a hungry pervert. He was willing to give up his life for a woman. Who dared to touch the fox he fancied? Chapter 476. Although Li Mu guarded the prison for 3 days, Fox 6 didn't suffer any torture after he left. However, his reputation was damaged because of this. Everyone in Meizong of Jianghu knew that Eagle 7 was a pervert who cared more about sex than his life. However, he didn't care. They were talking about Eagle 7 behind his back. What did it have to do with Li Mu? After resting at home for 3 days, Li Mu became Bai Xian's personal guard and entered the imperial palace for duty. The biggest benefit of being his personal guard was that he didn't have to run around tirelessly. What he was involved in were all confidential matters of Meizong and Jianghu. Li Mu had 2 things to do now. First, he had to find Phantom Princess. She was a legitimate demon and was very popular in Jianghu. Only she could replace Bai Xian and become the ruler of Jianghu. Second, he had to find out where one of Glory Sect's Yuming elders, the elder who was recuperating in Jianghu, was in seclusion. He had to take his life while he was sick. Li Mu didn't forget that there was another level 7 old man in Tianlang. If he waited until Glory Sect's elder finished recuperating, Li Mu would have to die here alone even if he had 8 demon corpses. Only by getting rid of one of them and interfering in Jianghu's affairs would he have some confidence. That Glory Sect elder was seriously injured and wouldn't be able to recover in a short time. Even if Li Mu couldn't get rid of him, he had to make him even more injured and eliminate the threat of a level 7 expert. However, he hadn't gained Bai Xian's trust yet and definitely wouldn't have access to such core secrets. Although he had become Bai Xian's personal guard, Bai Xian only let him guard the door. He had to do something to gain Bai Xian's trust first. Li Mu planned in his heart as he stood at the palace gate and basked in the sun. A group of people walked in from afar. After those people walked in, another white Xian guard beside him said hatefully, "Those wolf cubs are here again." Li Mu asked, "What are they doing here?" Fox 18 said, "Of course it's to take over their territory. I don't know what the sage sect is thinking. We're clearly on their side, but they'd rather support these immature wolf cubs." Hushiba had a deep grudge against the celestial wolf clan. In fact, he wasn't the only one. Most of the demons in the Thousand Fox Nation didn't like them. It wasn't just because the two clans used to be enemies. As one of the four great demon clans, the conflict between the wolf clan and the fox clan was the deepest. For hundreds and thousands of years, this kind of conflict had long been engraved in their bones. Although the two races had become allies from enemies, the enmity engraved in their bones could not be resolved. What's more, even if they were allies, the two races still had conflicts of interest. Under the instructions of Glory Sect, the fox race and wolf race began to swallow up the other forces of the demon kingdom. Both clans wanted to strengthen themselves. When fighting for territory, they naturally would not give in. However, the super expert of the Fox clan, Heaven Lord Wan Huan, was no longer around. After the internal strife in the Meizong sect, their vitality was greatly damaged. Their overall strength was far inferior to the Wolf clan. In the beginning, the territory that they snatched was quickly snatched back by the Wolf clan. Later, Bai Xian protested to the Glory Sect elder. After the Glory Sect elder stepped in, the Wolf clan calmed down a little. Moreover, the Glory Sect elder also ordered that the two clans were forbidden to engage in large-scale fights for disputed territories. They would be settled by the most traditional method of the Demon clan. The most traditional method of the Demon clan to resolve disputes was the same as when Li Mu and Leopard 5 fought over Fox 6. The bigger fist was the law. Everything depended on strength. If the Wolf clan and the Fox clan had a dispute, each clan would send out a person to compete. The winner would have the only right to speak, and the loser could only blame themselves for not being as strong as the other. In order to avoid too much damage, the strength of the competing demons was limited to the 5th realm and below. This was obviously to take care of the Fox clan. After a wave of internal strife, there weren't many experts left in the Fox clan. If the restriction was lifted, the Wolf clan would simply crush the Fox clan. Even with the addition of this restriction, the Thousand Fox Nation had never won even once. As a result, many of the territories that the Fox clan had set their eyes on had already fallen into the hands of the Sky Wolf clan. The better territories were all swallowed up by the Sky Wolf clan. The Fox clan could only pick up the scraps and bully the Rabbit clan and other small demon clans that the Wolf clan looked down on. After winning a large number of territories through multiple competitions, the Wolf clan had taken a liking to this method. Sometimes, they would even deliberately provoke conflicts and then rightfully take over the territories that the Fox clan had set their eyes on. Thousand Fox Nation. In front of the palace. Bam, 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 bam. Two figures exuded a primal bestial aura as they fought in the square in front of the palace. They did not use any Dharma treasures or external objects. They fought purely with their demon bodies and demonic techniques. The Fox clan sent out Leopard 5, while the Wolf clan sent out a Tiger Demon. The Tiger Demon clan belonged to the Demon sect and was also one of the top forces in the Demon Nation. Ever since the Sky Wolf clan joined the Demon sect, they ruled over the Demon sect. Naturally, the Tiger Demon clan also became a subordinate of the Sky Wolf clan. Leopard 5 was fast, but compared to the Tiger Demon, he was at an absolute disadvantage in terms of strength. In the beginning, he could still use his unparalleled speed to gain a slight advantage. However, as his stamina gradually depleted, it was obvious that he was going to lose. In a moment of carelessness, he was hit in the chest by the Tiger Demon. Like a kite with a broken string, he spat out blood and flew out of the arena. A 6th realm wolf demon looked at Bai Xian and said with a smile, "Brother Bai, I'm so sorry. It seems that we have to take over Black Wind Mountain." The Fox clan had sent people to take over Black Wind Mountain first, but the Wolf clan, who arrived later, took advantage of it. Here, the Fox clan lost again and completely lost control of Black Wind Mountain. Bai Xian's face was gloomy and he was extremely unwilling to accept this. However, he could not disobey the rules set by the sage sect elder before he went into seclusion. Bai Xian looked coldly at the wolf demon and asked loudly, "Who's willing to fight next?" No one answered behind him. The Fox clan had lost too many times. Everyone knew that if they could save face for the Grand Elder and Meizong sect, they would be rewarded handsomely. However, the demons sent by the Tianlang dynasty to fight for territory with the Fox clan were all powerhouses who were half a step into the fifth realm. They could break through at any time, but they forcefully kept their strength at the fourth realm. These demons were strong and ruthless. If their cultivation foundation was destroyed by them, perhaps they would have no hope of advancing in this lifetime. In the past few days, who knew how many people who were eager to gain merit entered the competition vertically or horizontally? There were even a few who were beaten until only their demon souls remained. With such a precedent, who would dare to step forward? In the square, Bai Xian's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Not only did they lose, but no one dared to fight. It was a complete disgrace to him. After today, the Serious Kingdom would probably think that there was no one left in the Fox clan. They would go overboard in the fight for the Demon Kingdom. Just as Bai Xian was about to randomly choose someone to fight, a voice suddenly came from afar. A thin figure strode over and said loudly, "Grand Elder, I'm willing to fight." Bai Xian looked at the personal guard he had taken in a few days ago with admiration. He had not misjudged the demon. A true warrior dared to face an undefeatable enemy and had the determination to stand up even if he knew he was no match for them. However, Bai Xian still shook his head and said, "Seventh Eagle, stand down. You've just recovered from your injuries. There's no need to force yourself." Li Mu did not move from his spot and said in a low voice, "Seventh Eagle, even if you lose today and die here, you must let them know that Meizong sect and Grand Elder are not to be humiliated." "All right." Light flashed in Bai Xian's eyes. Ying Qi's words had reignited the fire that had been extinguished in his heart for a long time. He said loudly, "You can give it your all. I will protect you. If you die in battle today, I will kill your enemy and avenge you." The sixth realm wolf demon looked at Bai Xian and said unhappily, "Brother Bai, are you going to break the rules of the competition?" Bai Xian snorted and said, "If Seventh Eagle dies, the territory will belong to you. The person who killed him will belong to me. You can protect him for one day, but you can't protect him forever." The Heavenly Wolf King didn't say anything else. The Wolf clan had taken advantage of the Fox clan too much recently. If they pushed Bai Xian too far, it wouldn't be their goal. He could only look at the Tiger Demon and say, "Be careful. Don't kill him." The Tiger Demon nodded and said, "I understand." The Wolf Demon King looked at Li Mu with respect. Although they were on different sides, such an enemy was worthy of their respect. The Fox Demon Clan and Meizong Sect's people were breathing rapidly. Their blood was boiling. Seventh Eagle was hopelessly lecherous, but he never backed down in the face of difficulties. He was a true man of Thousand Fox Country. Two small demons were about to help the injured Leopard 5 down. Leopard 5 looked at the figure and gritted his teeth. "Wait." In the square in front of the palace, two figures stood facing each other, separated by 100 feet. Judging from the degree of demon chi they emitted, the Tiger Demon was undoubtedly stronger. However, compared to Seventh Eagle, he lacked an indomitable aura. The aura of the two demons reached a peak and exploded. Their figures disappeared at the same time. Bang! 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 The demons with lower cultivation could not see them. They could only hear the sounds of collisions in the air. Fourth realm demons could barely catch a glimpse of their silhouettes. Only cultivators above the fifth realm could clearly see the details of the battle between the two demons. The Tiger Demon King's fist against the Eagle Demon King's claw. Soon, many people revealed looks of disbelief. On the battlefield, the Tiger Demon, who was stronger, was at a disadvantage. Although they were both fourth realm demons, there was a slight difference in their strength. However, this was not the deciding factor of the battle. The Tiger Demon defended and attacked. However, the Eagle Demon only attacked. One was overcautious while the other was indomitable. The Eagle Demon would rather take a hit from the Tiger Demon to attack the Tiger Demon's fatal spots. His eagle claws were extremely sharp as they scratched at the demon core in the Tiger Demon's abdomen. One of the Eagle Demon's arms drooped weakly. It was clearly broken. There were also a few dents on his body. They were all caused by the tiger demon's attacks. However, the tiger demon situation was not optimistic either. There were a few bone-deep wounds on his abdomen. As he attacked, his demon core could even be seen from the outside. If he was scratched a few more times by the reckless eagle demon, his demon core would probably be dug out. The demon core was the result of his decades of cultivation. If it was destroyed, his life's cultivation would be destroyed. Seeing the sharp eagle claws coming at him again, the tiger demon was completely terrified. It was not worth the risk of destroying his life's cultivation for a small achievement. He quickly retreated and said in horror, "I'm not competing anymore. I admit defeat." In the square, Li Mu limped out of the arena with a drooping arm. He looked at Bai Xian and said, "First Elder, we won." Then he blacked out and fell to the ground. Chapter 477. Bai Xian extended his hand, and an invisible force supported Li Mu's fallen body. He ordered his subordinates, "Take Commander Eagle away to treat his injuries." 2 5th-level monsters beside him quickly carried Li Mu away. Bai Xian looked at the heavenly wolf monarch and said, "The Thorns Ridge belongs to my fox tribe. If you dare to touch it, don't blame this emperor for being ruthless. I didn't expect you to have such fierce warriors under your command." The heavenly wolf monarch sighed and said to the monsters behind him, "Let's go." When the monsters of the heavenly wolf kingdom left, the morale of the Meizong sex people was greatly boosted. This was the first time in recent days that they had the upper hand in the confrontation with the wolf tribe. Bai Xian was in a good mood now that the Thousand Fox Kingdom could hold their heads high. He waved his hand and said, "Eagle 7 is promoted to deputy commander of this emperor's second personal guard. Bestow him with a new mansion and 8 beautiful female monsters." "Yes, this subordinate will make the arrangements." When Li Mu opened his eyes, he was already at home. Faint pain came from all over his body, making him very uncomfortable. However, in order to gain Bai Xian's trust, he could only do so. In this world, there was no love without reason, no hatred without reason, and no trust without reason. Fortunately, Li Mu had a lot of experience in how to be a good spy. Moreover, the last time he was a spy was in the Thousand Fox Kingdom. This time, he was even more familiar with it. His superb acting skills had also gained Bai Xian's approval. The demon race was not good at alchemy, so Bai Xian gave Li Mu a lot of spirit herbs. Other than that, he also promoted him to the position of deputy commander of the second personal guards and rewarded him with a large mansion and 8 beautiful female demons of different races. If these 8 female monsters were rewarded by the Empress, Li Mu would definitely refuse without hesitation. However, he could only accept Bai Xian's reward. Everyone in the Thousand Fox Kingdom knew about Eagle 7's lecherousness. No lecherous man could refuse 8 beautiful female monsters, unless his lecherousness was faked. Fortunately, Li Mu was injured, so he had a reason to restrain himself. However, this reason could only be concealed for a while, not forever. Li Mu wanted to find Huan Ji as soon as possible, rescue Huan Yun and the imprisoned elders of the Meizong sect, overthrow the Bai family's rule over the Thousand Fox Nation, and begin to guard against the Wolf Clan with all his might, reversing the situation in the Demon Nation. With his Buddhist cultivation and strong body, such a small injury could be healed in a moment. However, Li Mu still had to slowly recover. If he recovered too quickly, Bai Xian would suspect him. Perhaps Bai Xian's spies were among these demonesses. Li Mu was recuperating in his new home. In the palace, Bai Xian was listening to a report. A fox demon said, "They sent news that Eagle 7 has been recuperating at home. He touched them a lot, but he didn't do anything." Bai Xian rubbed his chin and said, "With that body of his, what can he do? But he's an eagle. Why is he even more lustful than the dragons and snakes? He's already injured to this extent, yet he's still naughty," the fox demon said. "When the forest is big, there are all kinds of birds. It's not strange for a lustful bird to appear occasionally." Many people in the Thousand Fox City knew that Eagle 7 was a lustful bird. However, other than that, what left a deep impression on the demons was his courage to defend the Meizong sect to the death. The Demon Nation was in chaos. The Fox Clan and the Wolf Clan had a lot of friction because they were fighting for territory. This led to a few battles between the two clans almost every few days. The name of Meizong sect's Eagle 7 was completely established in these battles. While he was still recuperating, He ignored the advice of the demons and insisted on fighting. Every time he fought, he would go all out and fight with his life. After a battle, his old injuries would be added to his body. Almost every time, he would be carried off the stage. However, Eagle 7 had never lost. Even if his opponents were stronger than him, they would still be hesitant when faced with his reckless fighting style. Seventh Eagle wanted to trade his life for theirs, but they didn't want to do the same. This caused them to hesitate a lot during the fight, which led to them losing. The people of the Wolf Clan were waiting for the day Eagle 7 fell. However, in the Meizong sect in the Thousand Fox country, the name Eagle 7 was equivalent to a god of war. After seeing Eagle 7's bravery, Bai Xian felt like he had obtained a treasure. All kinds of healing pills and spiritual medicines were thrown down in piles. Li Mu did not stand on ceremony with him. Because he didn't have the time to train, his physical body didn't improve for a long time. Under this method of torturing his body while using the medicinal power to strengthen his body, the strength of his physical body actually increased by a lot. It could be considered an unexpected surprise. After another battle, Li Mu was supported by 2 fox girls. Bai Xian stood beside him and asked Li Mu casually, "How are the maids I gave you?" Li Mu said truthfully, "In reply to First Elder, there have been many battles these days. This subordinate has to conserve energy and has no extra energy to spend on them. When this subordinate's cultivation increases a bit more, I still have to save energy to deal with Hu Lu." Bai Xian nodded, "That's true, Hu Lu's bloodline isn't weak either. If you obtain her primordial Yin, you'll be able to reach the 5th level very quickly. However, you don't need to be in such a rush. When the time comes, I'll find you a few more demonesses with primordial Yin to help you." If Eagle 7 advanced to the 5th realm, he would not be able to find another person to replace him in the battle. The effect of him not advancing was much greater than advancing. Li Mu nodded. "It's all up to you, First Elder." After having Eagle 7, he slowly recovered the grievances he suffered from the Wolf Clan. However, there was still one thing that had always been a thorn in Bai Xian's heart. He breathed a sigh of relief and whispered, Junior sister, where are you? I've been looking for you for a long time." Li Mu hugged the 2 fox girls and sighed in his heart. He said quietly, "Phantom Princess, where are you?" "In a valley in the north of the Demon Kingdom." The situation in the Demon Kingdom had changed greatly. The Celestial Wolf Clan and the Celestial Fox Clan were rapidly annexing the surrounding demon clans. Within the Demon Kingdom, the flames of war were unceasing, but it had not yet spread here. The Mountain Cat Clan lived here. In a cave hidden by a simple formation, Phantom Princess sat cross-legged. The heavenly book in her hand was emitting a faint light. Soon, she slowly opened her eyes and put away the heavenly book. She asked, "Can the Mountain Cat Clan be trusted?" Hu Jiu nodded. "Yes. I once saved the lives of their entire clan." Phantom Princess did not ask any more. She fell silent again. She seemed to have thought of something, and her face showed sadness. Hu Jiu was also affected by her sadness. She said sadly, "If it weren't for saving us, Sixth Sister would not have exposed herself. Bai Xian, that traitor, must have had the intention to betray us. Perhaps the death of the little snake was also because of him. I was too useless. I could only watch the little snake explode and Sixth Sister get caught." He raised his head and looked outside. He murmured, "I don't know how they will torture Sixth Sister." In the dungeon under the Imperial Palace in Jianghu country, Hu Lu held a drumstick in each hand and ate with her mouth full of oil. She did not forget to ask Li Mu, "Next time, bring me some spicy rabbit heads. The wine shop on West Street has good sweet wine. Remember to bring me a bottle." Li Mu glanced at her and said, "That's enough." Because his status here was constantly rising, and Hu Lu was his exclusive property on the surface, no one dared to have any objections when Li Mu helped to improve her meals. Li Mu and Hu Lu stayed for a while. A bell rang outside. The Meizong sect summoned again. Li Mu left the dungeon and came to the Imperial Palace. Bai Xian's personal guard commander stood in front. He pointed at a few people and said, "Little Eagle, Leopard 5. You guys come in." Li Mu, Leopard 5, and the others walked into the hall. They saw Bai Xian's happy face. There was a demon standing behind him. Its cultivation was not high, only at the 4th realm. Its body was a mountain cat. Bai Xian looked at the mountain cat and asked, "I'll ask you again. Is this true? The mountain cat demon nodded solemnly. I don't dare to lie. They are hiding in my clan. Chapter 478. Bai Xian couldn't suppress the joy in his heart when he heard the news about Huan Ji. If he cultivated with Huan Ji and benefited from her pure heavenly fox bloodline, he could completely stabilize his cultivation that had been forcefully raised. There was even a possibility for him to go further. Li Mu looked calm on the surface, but he was more excited than Bai Xian in his heart. After finding Huan Ji, he only needed to find out where the elder of the sage sect was in seclusion to completely reverse the situation of Jianghu country and take the first step to pacifying the demon country. Bai Xian looked at the lynx demon and asked, Why are they hiding in your clan? The lynx demon grinned and said proudly, Hu Jiu once saved our clan, so he doesn't suspect us at all. Li Mu sighed in his heart. Hu Jiu had never been right about people. He didn't know when he would learn to be more careful. Leopard 5 and the other demons showed a look of disdain. Betraying his savior was not a shame, but an honor. Even if he was a demon, they looked down on such a shameless person. Bai Xian said with satisfaction, You can leave now. I will reward you well. Thank you, my king. The lynx demon left with gratitude. Bai Xian murmured, What should I reward him? Eagle 7, why don't you let him be your subordinate for the time being? Li Mu was already the commander of Bai Xian's second guard. He thought for a while and said in a deep voice, First elder, I think we can't keep this demon. Bai Xian looked at him and asked, Why? Li Mu said, First elder, Hu Jiu is the savior of their clan. They betrayed their savior so easily. It shows that the lynx demon clan is ungrateful and two-faced. This kind of demon is the easiest to buy. If they can betray Hu Jiu today, they can betray me and First Elder tomorrow. I really don't dare to keep him by my side. Bai Xian recalled Li Mu's words and his eyes gradually became deep. No one knew betrayal better than him. For people like them, there was nothing they couldn't do under the temptation of benefits, power, and strength. Bai Xian was such a person himself, but he didn't want to have such people around him. He hoped that the subordinates around him could be as loyal as Eagle 7, instead of being on guard against their betrayal and betrayal. He smirked and said, The mountain cat clan is so despicable. Indeed, they cannot be entrusted with important tasks. I grew up with junior sister and we are like brothers. Betraying junior sister is the same as betraying me. He looked at a personal guard beside him. That personal guard had followed Bai Xian for more than 10 years and understood the meaning behind his gaze. He nodded lightly at him. Bai Xian then said, Hu Da Ing Qi. Li Mu and a fifth realm fox demon stepped forward and said in unison, Here. Bai Xian said in a deep voice, I order you to lead your men to the mountain cat tribe and bring junior sister Huan Ji back. The two of them replied again, Understood. After being promoted twice by Bai Xian, Li Mu was now the leader of the second personal guard team. As for Hu Da, he was Bai Xian's confidant. His cultivation had reached the peak of fifth realm. Before he left, Bai Xian seemed to have given him a powerful talisman. This operation was led by Hu Da. Li Mu's cultivation wasn't high, but he was deeply trusted by Bai Xian. He was able to participate because he followed behind Hu Da to take credit. Outside Thousand Fox Country on a flying ship, Hu Da let out a long sigh and said, I hope the mountain cat clan can keep them. Li Mu also hoped, May the heavens protect them. Please don't leave. Mountain cat clan. Inside the cave. Hu Jiu looked at Huan Ji in confusion and asked, Lord Huan Ji, we're safe here. Why do we have to leave? Huan Ji explained, I've recovered a little. If I continue to stay here, I might bring disaster to the mountain cat clan. Bai Xian sent so many people to find us. It's best not to stay in one place for too long. Hu Jiu nodded and said, All right then. He walked out of the cave and said to the two mountain cat demons, Sorry to disturb you these days. One of the mountain cat demons smiled and said, Not at all. Lord Jiu once saved our clan. This is a chance for us to repay you. Hu Jiu said, I'm here to tell you that we're leaving. That traitor is looking for us everywhere. If we continue to stay here, you'll be implicated. A trace of panic appeared in the mountain cat demon's eyes, but he quickly said firmly, Lord Jiu, don't worry. No one knows you're here. You can stay here without worry. Otherwise, we don't know when we'll be able to repay you. The small mountain cat clan was actually so loyal. Hu Jiu was touched but still refused. Remember, you've never seen us. No matter who asks, you have to say this. The mountain cat demon nodded and said, I'll go inform the elder. Lord Jiu, you must tell the elder about this. Hu Jiu walked back into the cave and waited for the elder of the mountain cat clan to come. However, he didn't see the elder of the mountain cat clan. Instead, he felt the fluctuations of a formation outside the cave. Hu Jiu and Phantom Princess strode to the entrance of the cave and found that the cave was already covered by a formation. The mountain cat clan was standing outside the formation. Hu Jiu looked at them and asked, What are you doing? Phantom Princess took a deep breath and said, Can't you see? They don't want us to leave. The elder of the mountain cat clan stood outside and looked at Phantom Princess and Hu Jiu. He smiled and said, Lords, your injuries haven't healed yet. Why are you in such a hurry to leave? Hu Jiu of course understood the meaning of the mountain cat elder's words. She was stunned and couldn't accept it. She said, I once saved your clan. You actually betrayed me. The smile on the mountain cat elder's face gradually turned into mockery. He said lightly, Lord Jiu, you're too naive. Don't forget that this is the demon kingdom. We don't follow the rules of humans. Elder Bai is looking for you everywhere. As long as we hand you over, our mountain cat clan won't have to hide in this remote mountain. We can get rich rewards and move to the Thousand Fox City with abundant spiritual qi. How can I let you leave like this? Hu Jiu stared at him and said, You can't be so shameless as a demon. The mountain cat elder replied, Lord Jiu, don't be so naive in your next life. Hu Jiu didn't talk to him anymore. She began to attack the formation with all her might. After more than a month of pursuit and several life and death battles, she could only use less than 10% of her strength. She barely had the cultivation of the fourth realm. Phantom Princess was better than Hu Jiu, but she was also seriously injured. She didn't have time to heal and her magic treasures were all used up. She couldn't even deal with a fifth realm opponent now. The formation set up by the mountain cat clan wasn't strong. Whether it was Phantom Princess or Hu Jiu, they could easily break it at their peak. But now, they were helpless against this formation. After Hu Jiu realized that it was hopeless to break the formation, she gave up attacking and walked to Phantom Princess. After a moment of silence she said, Lord Phantom Princess, I'll explode my demon soul later and break this formation. You can take the chance to escape. With our strength, we can't avenge the Lord of Heaven, Little Snake, and Sixth Sister. Don't die for nothing. Leave the demon kingdom and find a safe place to cultivate slowly. Or go to the Great Zhou's divine capital and find that lecher, Li Mu. He's had his eyes on you for a long time. He'll take care of you. Phantom Princess said lightly, This isn't the first day you know me. Hu Jiu gritted her teeth and said, Lord Phantom Princess, staying alive is the most important thing. She had lost her father, brother, and all her followers. Moreover, she had no hope of revenge. In this boundless darkness, Phantom Princess calmed down. She stayed in the cave and didn't break the formation. She just waited quietly. Hu Jiu couldn't persuade her, so she stood quietly beside her and didn't say a word. It was obvious that she was prepared to face everything with her. Outside the cave, the faces of the entire mountain cat tribe were filled with excitement. I didn't expect that such a great merit would fall on our heads. This time, our mountain cat tribe can also turn the tables. Maybe this is our luck. The mountain cat elder looked at the excited tribesmen and said in a deep voice, Be careful. Watch them carefully. If you let them escape, what awaits you won't be the Grand Elder's reward. Instead, you'll be blamed. A mountain cat looked at the entrance of the cave and said, Elder, don't worry. They have already given up. The cat demons looked in the direction of the cave entrance. Indeed, they realized that the people inside the cave were no longer attacking. Although they were very powerful in the past, they were like foxes that had fallen from grace. Any Tom, Dick, or Harry could bully them. The Fey Nation, where strength reigned supreme, was that cruel. As the mountain cat tribe waited anxiously, a stream of light finally shot over from afar and landed in the valley. Dozens of figures jumped down from the flying boat. The mountain cat tribe quickly came forward. The mountain cat elder bowed and said, Greetings, lords. The rest of the mountain cat tribe also bowed. Huda went straight to the point and asked, Are they still here? The mountain cat elder pointed at the cave that was covered by the formation and said, "Yes, we trapped them in the formation and waited for you to come." Huda patted him on the shoulder and said with a smile, "Not bad. When we return, the Grand Elder will reward you." When the mountain cat tribe heard this, their eyes lit up. Huda walked in front of the formation and slapped out. The formation that Hu Jiao couldn't break made a sound like porcelain shattering and shattered. Then, Huda stood outside the cave and waited quietly. Soon, two figures walked out of the cave. Huda bowed to Illusion Princess and said, "Lord Illusion Princess, come back with us. The Grand Elder has been looking for you for a long time." Illusion Princess said calmly, "Promise me one thing and I'll go back with you. Otherwise, even if you bring me back, half of your people will be left behind." Huda completely believed Illusion Princess's words. Although she was seriously injured, if she wanted to resist, at least half of the people he brought this time would die. He might even have the risk of dying. If Illusion Princess was willing to cooperate, that would be great. Huda said without hesitation, "Lord Illusion Princess, please say it." Illusion Princess glanced at the mountain cat tribe and said calmly, "Cripple the mountain cat tribe's cultivation and erase their consciousness. Beat them back to their original forms." The mountain cat elder's expression changed drastically. He immediately said, "Lord, don't listen to her," Huda didn't even think and said, "Okay." The mountain cat elder panicked and said hurriedly, "Lord, you can't do this. We provided her information. We've done a great service for the Thousand Fox Nation." Huda said calmly, "Do it." The weakest demon he brought this time was at the peak of the fourth realm. The mountain cat elder's cultivation was only at the fourth realm. After a few breaths, all the mountain cat demons, including the mountain cat elder, were captured. "No! No!" After a dozen screams, all the mountain cat tribe's cultivation was sucked away. Their cultivation foundation was crippled. Even their consciousness was erased. Meow. Meow meow. A dozen mountain cats with spots on their bodies ran away from the grass. The entire mountain cat tribe was beaten back to their original forms. They could no longer cultivate. Huda bowed to Illusion Princess again and said, "Lord Illusion Princess, let's go." Hu Jiao watched coldly as an old mountain cat disappeared into the grass. She looked at Illusion Princess. As long as Illusion Princess gave the order, he would give her a chance to escape even if he had to self-destruct his demon soul. Illusion Princess didn't say anything. She walked silently to the flying ship. Huda heaved a sigh of relief and said to his subordinates, "Return to the Thousand Fox Nation." The operation was unexpectedly smooth this time. Huda's subordinates were relieved. It seemed that Lord Illusion Princess knew that even if they fought to the death, they wouldn't be able to escape. That was why she gave up resisting. This was what they wanted. If they really fought her head-on, every one of them would be at risk of dying. The huge flying ship flew across the sky at high speed and headed toward the Thousand Fox City. It was extremely quiet on the flying ship. Illusion Princess stood at the bow of the ship and looked into the distance. She didn't say anything. Hu Jiao stood behind her. Her mood was extremely gloomy. At a certain moment, he suddenly felt something strange. Behind him, there was a gaze that swept over him many times. Hu Jiao turned around and met another pair of eyes. It was a young man with an aquiline nose. His eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. His cultivation wasn't very high. He was only at the fourth realm. However, he stood side by side with Hu De, who was at the fifth realm. Several fifth realm demons stood behind him. This meant that he had a high status beside Bai Xian. Hu Jiao didn't like Bai Xian's people at all. She asked coldly, "What are you looking at?" Li Mu was looking at Illusion Princess. He didn't answer Hu Jiao and looked away. With his understanding of Illusion Princess, she wouldn't surrender so easily. This time, she didn't resist at all. She must have other intentions. Could it be that she had no hope of revenge and wanted to assassinate Bai Xian before she died? She probably didn't know that Bai Xian's cultivation had been forcibly raised to the sixth realm by the elders of the sage sect. Although his strength hadn't reached the normal sixth realm, he wasn't someone she could deal with now. Hu Jiao felt that gaze again. She turned around and looked at the aquiline-nosed man. She found that the aquiline demon opposite her had an ordinary appearance. However, she inexplicably had a good impression of him. Because of this, Hu Jiao started to doubt herself. When did her taste become so bad? How could she be attracted to this kind of trash? Chapter 479. Thousand Fox Country. Imperial Palace. Bai Xian walked over and asked, "Where is she?" Li Mu and Hu Da were standing at the entrance of a palace. Hu Da pointed at the palace behind them and said, "Inside." Bai Xian pushed open the door and entered. What welcomed him were two cold lights. He calmly reached out and grabbed Huan Ji's two short swords. He shook his head and said, "Junior sister, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Is this how you treat your senior brother?" Bah! Huan Ji spat and said coldly, "I don't have a senior brother like you." Bai Xian used a bit of strength and took the two short swords from Huan Ji. Huan Ji looked at him and said in shock, "You're already at the 6th level." Bai Xian smiled and said, "I've said it before. If you follow the sage sect, you'll get endless benefits." He walked into the room and sat on a chair. He said, "You can't blame me for Master's current situation. You've disobeyed the orders of the sage sect many times. The sage sect has long wanted to kill Master. Even without me, the sage sect would still get rid of him." Huan Ji looked at him coldly and said, "You don't need to find excuses for yourself." Bai Xian sighed and said, "I've already warned you not to go against the sage sect. If you follow them, you'll get endless benefits. If you disobey them, you won't have a good ending." "Unfortunately, you've never listened to me," Huan Ji said coldly. "This is why you betrayed your master." Bai Xian sighed and said, "This was the decision of the sage sect elders. I had no other choice. If I didn't cooperate with them, they would have gotten rid of me as well." He looked at Huan Ji and said without hesitation, "Junior sister, the reason why the Huan family is like this is all because of you. It's your kindness that harmed Master, harmed senior brother, and harmed yourself. You're a monster, but you're kind to humans. You even disobeyed the sage sect's orders. It's all because of you." Huan Ji stood in the room dejectedly. She didn't have any hope in her heart. At this point, she couldn't take back Thousand Fox Country and avenge her father. Killing Bai Xian before she died was her only wish. But now, this wish was mercilessly shattered. Bai Xian looked at her and said, "Junior sister, you know that I had no choice. If you can forget the past, I will treat you well. I'm even willing to make you the Queen of Thousand Fox as long as you say the word." Huan Ji glared at Bai Xian and said word by word, "Don't even think about it." Bai Xian didn't force her. He just stood up and walked to the door. "I'll give you 3 days to think about it. After 3 days, I'll kill a prisoner in the dungeon every day. The first one will be Hu Jiu, the second one will be Huan Yun, and the third one will be Hu Lu." Huan Ji bit her lips, her nails digging into her flesh. Bai Xian pushed the door open. Li Mu looked at him and whispered, "First Elder, you promised that you would leave Hu Lu to me." Bai Xian patted his shoulder and said, "Don't worry. You have done a great service to Meizong. When the Sage Sect Elder comes out, I will ask him to help you raise your cultivation level." Li Mu cupped his fists excitedly and said, "Thank you, First Elder." Bai Xian looked behind him and said, "You don't have to do any other tasks these days. Watch her carefully. If she has any requests, try to satisfy her. If she does anything strange, report to me immediately." Li Mu said with a solemn expression, "Yes, sir." When Huan Ji was locked up in a palace, Hu Jiu was also taken to the dungeon. Here, he saw many elders who were loyal to the Lord of Heaven. They were locked up in cells and tortured. They looked withered and weak, and their hearts were filled with sorrow. Until he saw Hu Lu in the next cell. The other elders were chained up with iron chains. Their clothes were ragged, and there were many traces of torture on their bodies. Hu Lu was clean and didn't look like he had suffered at all. He was even a little fatter than last time. Hu Lu saw Hu Jiu and said in surprise, "You're finally here. Is Lord Huan Ji here too?" Hu Jiu looked at him blankly and murmured, "Lord Huan Ji and I are in Bai Xian's hands. Are you happy?" Hu Lu couldn't hide the joy on his face. He ordered the 2 small demons guarding the door of his cell. "You two, go out and buy me 5 roasted chickens, 10 spicy rabbit heads, and 2 jars of sweet wine. Hurry up." The 2 small demons left happily. The woman in the dungeon was Commander Eagle's woman. They didn't dare to neglect her. As the god of war of Thousand Fox Country, the new elder of Meizong sect, and the favorite of the First Elder, Commander Eagle was in the limelight recently. Everyone who saw him would want to curry favor with him. Hu Jiao looked in the direction where the two small demons disappeared. Then she looked at Hu Lu and said in disbelief, "What's going on?" Hu Lu knew that Hu Jiao couldn't keep secrets, so she didn't want to tell him at all. He looked at Hu Jiao and asked directly, "Where is Lord Huanji?" Hu Jiao lowered her head and said, "I was wrong. The damn Mountain Cat clan betrayed us. I shouldn't have saved them." Hu Lu finally confirmed the news and was overjoyed. "That's great." Hu Jiao raised his head and looked at her. He seemed to realize something, and his face gradually showed extreme disappointment. He stared at Fox 6 and said in a trembling voice, "I know. You betrayed us and surrendered to Bai Xian. That's why they treat you so well. Sister 6, you've disappointed me. I've misjudged you again. I've misjudged you every time. What's the use of my eyes?" Hu Lu looked at him speechlessly and said, "You don't have eyes anymore." Hu Jiao leaned against the wall of the cell. His soul dimmed a little. When he was seriously injured and his life was hanging by a thread, he didn't feel so desperate. He slowly closed his eyes and said sorrowfully, "Little snake, I'm going to go down to accompany you soon." Hu Lu ignored him. When the two small demons came back, she handed him a roasted chicken and a rabbit head and asked, "Do you want to eat the roasted chicken and rabbit head?" Hu Jiao's eyes suddenly opened. He gritted his teeth and said, "Yes, why not?" He walked over and took the roasted chicken and rabbit head, saying, "Even if I die, I'll eat until I'm full. Also, give me a jar of wine." In the dungeon. In the palace where Phantom Princess was, Huda looked at her and tried to persuade her. "Lord Phantom Princess, the First Elder is sincere to you. He hasn't crowned a queen yet because he's waiting for you. Why are you so stubborn?" Phantom Princess didn't even look at him and said coldly, "Get out." Huda took a deep breath and didn't say anything else. He looked at Li Mu and said, "I'll leave this to you." Li Mu nodded and said, "Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on her." Huda turned and left. After taking 2 steps, he turned back and said to Li Mu, "Ying, I know you're a pervert, but she's the First Elder's woman. Control yourself and don't be too presumptuous." Li Mu said unhappily, "Am I such a Ying? Although I'm a pervert, I have a bottom line. Even the First Elder trusts me, but you don't trust me." Huda let out a breath and said, "I'm relieved that you know." This time, he left with a peace of mind and closed the door of the hall. Elder Phantom Princess wasn't a normal 5th realm cultivator. Even if her cultivation was less than 10%, she still couldn't be underestimated. There had to be someone watching her 24 hours a day. In terms of endurance and focus, no one was more suitable than Ying Qi. After Huda left, only Li Mu and Phantom Princess were left in the room. Li Mu walked to the door and confirmed that Huda was far away. There were only 2 lesser beasts guarding outside. He then walked to Phantom Princess's side. Before he could speak, Phantom Princess said coldly, "If you want to persuade me to become Bai Xian's queen, then shut up and don't waste your breath." Li Mu shook his head and said, "What I want to tell you is that if you rely on others, you can only become the queen. If you rely on yourself, you can only become the queen." Bai Xian's subordinates definitely wouldn't talk to her like this. Phantom Princess's expression froze and then she suddenly stood up. She looked at Li Mu and asked, "Who are you?" Although he had already taken out a magic artifact to hide the secrets of the heavens and no one could see this place, Li Mu still couldn't be honest with her here just to be safe. Li Mu didn't say much and continued, "This isn't a place to talk. Sit down and send your primordial spirit out. I'll take you to a place." Phantom Princess only hesitated for a moment before following Li Mu's words and sat down. In such a desperate situation, any choice she made could not possibly be worse than the current situation. Then, her primordial spirit left her body. An illusory figure also floated out of Li Mu's body. Then, the 2 primordial spirits disappeared. The 2 little demons outside the hall seemed to have heard some movement inside. They turned around to take a look and vaguely saw 2 figures. Then, they relaxed and continued to slack off. Inside the hall, Li Mu and Phantom Princess were like statues, one standing and one sitting. In the Beast Emperor space, 2 illusory figures appeared at the same time. Phantom Princess turned around and looked at the person beside her. She could no longer remain calm and said in shock, "It's you." Her voice was filled with shock. After the shock, it was joy. Even she didn't know why, but the moment she saw this face, her heart immediately calmed down as if she had found someone to rely on. Li Mu smiled and asked, "Are you surprised? Are you surprised?" Phantom Princess floated in the air in a daze. What Li Mu gave her was more than just surprise and joy. This was simply coming back from the jaws of death. When she was lost in the endless desert and was about to die of thirst, she met an oasis. When she sank into the endless darkness, a ray of hope appeared in her eyes. Her lips moved as if she wanted to say something, but she suddenly looked down. On the lake below, there were ripples. Phantom Princess waved her hand at the lake and something flew out from the bottom of the lake. She held it in her hand. This was a spiritual jade. In the middle of the spiritual jade, there was a mark similar to a drop of blood. Li Mu looked at the spiritual jade in Phantom Princess' hand that contained a drop of her essence blood. He was completely stunned. At this moment, he and Phantom Princess experienced what a surprise was. Chapter 480. Li Mu had been thinking about Illusion Princess day and night. When he saw her again, he was so happy that he forgot that in order to not expose his identity, he threw the spiritual jade that contained Illusion Princess essence blood into the lake in the Spirit Demon King's dimension. Now that he brought Illusion Princess essence soul in, wasn't he walking right into a trap? Li Mu used the clear heart art to calm his heart. His face didn't change at all as he asked Illusion Princess, "What is this?" Illusion Princess looked at the spiritual jade in her hand and then looked at Li Mu's essence soul. She said, "I should be the one asking you this question. Why is this item in your hands?" "What in my hands?" Li Mu glanced at her and said, "You clearly took it out from the lake yourself. Isn't it just a spiritual jade? If you like it, I'll give it to you. Let's not talk about this anymore. I brought you here because I have something more important to talk about." Illusion Princess waved her hand and said, "Let's not rush other things. Tell me first, why is this spiritual jade in your hands?" Li Mu thought about it and said, "I think I got it from the Jianghu Second Prince's palace. I remember that I got a lot of spiritual jades. This piece of spiritual jade was flawed, so I threw it into the lake. Let's not talk about this spiritual jade anymore. I didn't take such a big risk to talk to you about this." Illusion Princess put away the spiritual jade and asked, "Did you also reach the 6th realm? When did you learn the art of disguise?" Li Mu's lips moved, but he didn't know how to explain. Illusion Princess was probably the smartest fox he had ever seen. All of her questions hit the nail on the head and went straight to Li Mu's weakness. She wanted Li Mu to understand that not all foxes were like Xiao Bai. Li Mu looked at her speechlessly and asked, "Aren't you curious why I'm in Thousand Fox Country and why I brought you here?" Phantom Princess lightly said, "The unification of the Fey Kingdom is the most disadvantageous to the Great Zhou. Therefore, you must have come here to prevent the unification of the Fey Kingdom. The Tianlang Kingdom has sided with the Demon Dao. The Snake and Bear tribes have never allied with humans. You want to obtain the support of the Fox tribe to resist the Tianlang Kingdom. Am I right?" The topic had been cleverly changed by him. Li Mu crossed his arms and said, "Go on." Huan Ji continued, "The Great Zhou cannot interfere with the Shifter Nation's affairs. Once you enter the Shifter Nation, the various Shifter tribes will quickly join forces. Therefore, you can only divide the Shifter tribes from within. The best way is to support the Fox tribe, but the Fox tribe is currently under Bai Xian's control. Therefore, you want to help us regain control of the Thousand Fox Nation, thus slowing down the serious tribe's unification of the Shifter Nation and ending the Great Zhou's siege." She turned to Li Mu and said, "I'm done. It's your turn." Li Mu shrugged and said, "You're done. What else can I say?" Huan Ji was silent for a while, then asked, "What do you plan to do?" Including Bai Xian, the Bai family has 2 6th Realm Elders and 3 7th Realm Elders from the Demon Dao. Unless you can invite at least 3 Upper Realm Elders from the Great Zhou, it's impossible to succeed. Li Mu shook his head and said, "There's only 1 7th Realm Elder from the Demon Dao here. Moreover, he was seriously injured when encircling your father. There's nothing to be afraid of. As long as I can find his location, I can make him even more injured and no longer be a threat." Huan Ji continued, "The Wolf Tribe's Blue Demon Wolf King has already joined the Demon Sect. Once something happens to Bai Xian, He won't sit idly by. Li Mu said confidently, I have my ways. As long as I don't let him join forces with the sage sect elder who has recovered from his injuries, I can still handle one blue demon wolf king. Not to mention the 8 demonic corpses. After setting up the formation, they could withstand a 7th realm elder. Even if they couldn't withstand it, Li Mu could release the law bell and cover the entire Jianghu nation. A mere blue demon wolf king could only watch from the outside. Of course, the premise was that he had to deal with the sage sect elder first. At the very least, he had to make him completely lose the ability to fight. Facing 2 7th realm elders and without a 7th realm elder controlling the law bell, Li Mu didn't know if the law bell could withstand it. Huan Ji looked at him and finally asked, if the sage sect continues to send elders over, can you withstand it? Li Mu sneered and said, of course I can't withstand it. However, I don't know if the Great Zhou Court and the Fu Lu School will be able to withstand it. The Diabolism had already sent 3 elders into the Yao Nation and severely injured the Heaven Lord of Illusions, breaking the balance of power in the Yao Nation. The Heaven Lord of Illusions was from the Diabolism's Meizong sect. To a certain extent, this was Meizong sect cleaning up their ranks. Cleaning up their ranks was one thing. Directly interfering in the internal affairs of the Yao Nation was another. After severely injuring the Heaven Lord of Illusions, they didn't directly help the Tianlang Nation and Jianghu Nation unify the Yao Nation. They only left 1 elder behind to act as a deterrent. The other 2 elders returned to the Sage sect. Not to mention whether the Sage sect could mobilize other 7th realm elders. Even if they could, the significance of them entering the Yao Nation again was different from the last time. The Diabolism's cleaning up of their ranks was none of others' business. However, if the Diabolism dared to openly help the Tianlang Nation or attack the Jianghu Nation that had already left the Diabolism, directly interfering in the internal affairs of the Yao Nation, the Great Zhou Court and the Fu Lu School would have a reason to act. Whether it was the Diabolism, the Orthodox sect, or the Imperial Court, none of them wanted to see such a thing happen. This was the bottom line and tacit understanding that all the forces had always abided by. Phantom Princess finally had no more questions. It was Li Mu's turn to ask, I can help you take back the Jianghu Nation, help you fight against the Tianlang Nation and the Diabolism, and even help you unify the Yao Nation. However, you have to promise me that you will work with the Great Zhou Court to promote equal relations between the human race and the Yao Nation. You won't do anything that will endanger the Great Zhou. Phantom Princess looked into his eyes and said, if you didn't trust me, you wouldn't have come here. She was indeed an extremely intelligent fox. Li Mu didn't beat around the bush with her. He said, I need you and you need me. This is a win-win deal. Do you want to take it or not? Phantom Princess reached out her hand to Li Mu. A smile appeared on Li Mu's face. He also reached out his hand and bumped it with hers. Smack! A crisp sound echoed above the lake. After a while, Phantom Princess stood by the lake and looked at the brand new Demon Emperor space. She asked Li Mu, why don't you look for Huan Yun? He's stronger than me. He's more qualified to be the ruler of the Jianghu Nation. Li Mu waved his hand and said, why should I look for him? I'm not familiar with him. On the surface, Huan Yun was the son of the former Meizong sect's Grand Elder, Lord of Heaven Illusion. He was also a 6th realm expert. No matter how one looked at it, he was the most ideal partner for the Imperial Court. However, as Li Mu said, no matter how suitable Huan Yun was, he didn't know Phantom Princess as well as he did. To him, trust was more important than strength. Then, he realized the image he had set in front of Phantom Princess. He looked her up and down and said, besides, I helped you this time. Isn't that a great favor to you? Do you want to consider giving yourself to me? Okay. Phantom Princess said without hesitation, after I kill Bai Xian and become the ruler of the Jianghu Nation, you can stay and be my empress. Li Mu was stunned for a moment. He coughed and said, you want to keep me in the small Jianghu Nation? You should stay by my side. Phantom Princess seemed to think of something and said, that's true. Compared to the Empress of the Great Zhou, the Jianghu Nation is indeed small. Li Mu said angrily, watch your words. There's nothing between His Majesty and me. How can you insult? In order to avoid being discovered, Li Mu couldn't stay in the Demon Emperor space for long. After he and Phantom Princess had a simple conversation, his primordial spirit returned to his body. He stuck a soundproof talisman under the table so that he could communicate with Phantom Princess directly. In the palace, Phantom Princess sat by the table and played with the spiritual jade in her hand. She seemed to be thinking about something. Li Mu stood to the side and thought about how to find the elder of the sage sect. If he suddenly mentioned this, it would arouse Bai Xian's suspicion. However, if he delayed and waited until Bai Xian's injuries were almost healed, things might not develop as planned. While Li Mu was completely focused on this matter, Phantom Princess, who was sitting at the table, suddenly said, "Little snake, help me massage my shoulders." Li Mu habitually walked behind her and put his hands on her shoulders. After a few gentle massages, his hands suddenly became stiff. Phantom Princess stood up and looked at his face. She sneered and said, "Should I call you Little Snake or Li Mu?" Chapter 481. Seeing the cold smile on her face, Li Mu knew that he wouldn't be able to get away this time. The sword in Xianxia's hand, the spiritual jade in Illusion Princess's hand, and Li Mu's face-changing ability. If it was just one thing, Li Mu could find a reason to get away with it, but with all of these things combined, it wasn't something that could be solved with just a coincidence. Li Mu thought that after the little snake died, he wouldn't have to see Illusion Princess anymore and wouldn't have to worry about being exposed. However, he didn't expect that after the little snake and Illusion Princess's fate ended, Li Mu and Illusion Princess's fate began. He would meet her no matter where he went, and each time, his identity would be exposed. Li Mu tried to act dumb. He looked at Illusion Princess and asked, "What did you just say?" Illusion Princess asked, "What were you doing just now?" Li Mu explained, "I was thinking about something just now, and I heard someone say that they were rubbing shoulders. I thought it was my empress. Let me tell you, little fox. Although we're working together, you'd better show me some respect. Don't order me around like a servant." Illusion Princess said coldly, Continue acting." Li Mu asked, "What did I act?" Illusion Princess asked, "Do you dare to swear?" Li Mu didn't care. "Swear what?" Huanji said, "Swear to the heavens that if you are lying, then you will be struck by lightning and your sparrow-ean soul will dissipate forever." Li Mu's expression became complicated. The first half of the sentence was fine, but the second half was too vicious. He had suffered so much in order to condense the sparrow shade all those years ago. Even if he was beaten to death, he would not joke about his lifelong happiness. He wanted to make Illusion Princess unconscious and wipe away her memories to solve the problem once and for all. However, her cultivation was higher than Li Mu's, so he couldn't do that. If he used force, he might permanently hurt her. In the end, Li Mu gave up on this idea. His voice changed as he sighed and said, "Mistress Huanji, why are you doing this?" Hearing the little snake's voice from Li Mu's mouth, Illusion Princess's body trembled. Her chest rose and fell more and more heavily. Fake, so all of this was fake. The little snake's loyalty was fake, so was his sacrifice. She was sad for nothing. Hu Jiubai cried for nothing. From start to finish, there was no little snake. The little snake was Li Mu. Then, Illusion Princess thought of something that made her even more ashamed. It was the stone statue of Li Mu that she once placed in her courtyard to vent her anger. She made the little snake look like Li Mu and ravaged him countless times. She made him massage his back and shoulders, and made him wash his feet. That was Li Mu. After knowing that she tortured the real Li Mu, Illusion Princess didn't feel any joy in her heart. Instead, she felt ashamed. She wasn't Li Mu's opponent. She could only use these little tricks to deceive herself and others. Moreover, it was in front of the person involved. Illusion Princess couldn't describe her current mood. Anger, happiness, shame, all kinds of emotions mixed together. Her heart was in a complete mess. Suddenly, she finally remembered something. She looked at Li Mu and questioned, "You were the one who leaked Hulu's information to the Great Zhou court. So you're the traitor." Li Mu was silent and didn't speak. Illusion Princess asked again, "Meizong's spy in the palace, you were the one who leaked the information." Li Mu continued to remain silent. Illusion Princess gritted her teeth. "Jiujiang County," Li Mu explained. "It wasn't me that time in Jiujiang County. It was Bai Xian. I just used that opportunity to fake my death and get away." Illusion Princess took a deep breath and calmed down after a long time. She said self-deprecatingly, So that's how it is. You went undercover in Meizong to steal their information, for the Great Zhou court. Li Mu shook his head and said, Not really. It's just that my Xiao Bai lacks the cultivation method after 5 tails. I came to Jiujiang County to look for that fox demon. Later, by chance, I was brought to Thousand Fox Country by you and joined Meizong. Illusion Princess looked at Li Mu and suddenly said, No wonder you always want to comprehend the heavenly book. It turns out that you've been scheming against me. You carried Hu Jiu's body back. You charged in every mission to win our trust, just like how you won Bai Xian's trust. At this point, all the mysteries in her heart had been solved. She finally looked at Li Mu and said, So you said that you're a pervert. You like me and want me to be your woman. That's also a lie you made up to hide your identity and dispel my suspicions? Li Mu said honestly, I'm a pervert, but I didn't help you to make you owe me a favor and repay me with your body. It's because of the little snake. I owe you. That's my compensation to you. Compensation? Do you think that's compensation? Illusion Princess pointed at her chest and asked, You can compensate for other things, but how can you compensate for this? Do you know how sad Hu Jiu was after the little snake died? The scene that Li Mu was most worried about still happened. Money debts were easy to repay, but love debts were difficult to repay. Considering the identity of the little snake, Hu Jiu and Illusion Princess had sincere feelings for him. Even if the little snake was fake, their feelings were real. At this moment, the one standing in front of Illusion Princess was not Li Mu, but the little snake named Wu Yanzu. Illusion Princess's words were like a question to the little snake's soul. Li Mu fell into a deep silence. Illusion Princess finally laughed self-deprecatingly and said, You're right. I was too naive. You're Li Mu, the most important official of the Great Zhou Empress. You're just a spy from the Great Zhou court. There was never a little snake. We've been touching ourselves all this time. I have to say that you're really good at acting. Everyone was fooled by you, including by Xian now. Li Mu sighed. In the depths of his heart, what he was afraid of was not the embarrassment when his identity was exposed, but the disappointment when Illusion Princess and the others found out the truth. The smile on Illusion Princess's face disappeared, and she became calm again. She said calmly, Let's get down to business. Are you sure you can deal with that sage sect elder? Although he's injured, he's still a 7th realm cultivator. He's not someone a 6th realm cultivator can deal with. Li Mu heaved a sigh of relief and said, It's hard to kill him, but it's enough to injure him heavily. As long as he doesn't join forces with that old wolf, Jianghu country will be safe. Illusion Princess nodded and said, I understand. Leave this to me. Li Mu asked, What will you do? Illusion Princess took a deep breath and said, Call Bai Xian over. Soon Bai Xian stepped into the room again and said in surprise, Junior sister, you've thought it through? Illusion Princess looked at him coldly and said, If I don't agree, Huan Yun, Hu Lu, and Hu Jiu will die. Bai Xian, you're too despicable. Bai Xian just smiled and said, Whether I'm despicable or not, as long as I can marry you, I don't care what methods I use. Illusion Princess was silent for a moment and said, I can agree, but you have to agree to 3 conditions. Bai Xian was happy and immediately said, Junior sister, please tell me. Illusion Princess said in a low voice, First, you can only have me as your empress. You can't marry anyone else. Bai Xian agreed and said, I can swear that I can only have you in my harem. Illusion Princess continued, Second, I want you to release Huan Yun, Hu Lu, Hu Jiu, and the elders of Meizong sect. Bai Xian thought for a moment and said, I can temporarily release Hu Jiu and Hu Lu, but senior brother Huan Yun's cultivation is too strong. I can't let him go. However, I can promise you that he won't be tortured in the dungeon. I'll treat him well every day. As for the other elders, I'll release them after our wedding. Is that okay? Illusion Princess was silent for a moment and nodded. Okay. Bai Xian smiled and asked, What's the 3rd condition? Illusion Princess said, Our wedding has to be lively. We have to invite all the demons in the city. It has to be done under the witness of the elders of Meizong sect. We have to announce it to the demon country and let all the demons know. Bai Xian hesitated. He could agree to most of these things, but the elders of Meizong sect were healing and he couldn't disturb them. Illusion Princess sneered and said, You're not even willing to do such a simple thing for me. How dare you say you like me? Bai Xian thought for a moment. He was the king of Jianghu country and the great elder of Meizong sect. He thought that the elder would give him some face. He finally made a decision and said, I can agree to all of these. Then he looked at Illusion Princess again and said, But junior sister, I've shown enough sincerity. To show your sincerity, shouldn't you give me the heavenly book? Illusion Princess stretched out her hand and a page floated in her palm and slowly flew to Bai Xian. Bai Xian put away the heavenly book. He couldn't wait to go back and study it. He smiled and said, Junior sister, you can move freely in this palace, but don't go out. I'll arrange our wedding as soon as possible. Then, he walked out of the door and hurriedly told Li Mu to look after Illusion Princess. Then, he left and couldn't wait to go back to the palace to study the heavenly book. Li Mu transmitted his voice and sighed. Although Bai Xian is sinister and despicable, he treats you quite well. Illusion Princess was already in his hands. If it was someone else, they would have already forced themselves on her and wouldn't agree to so many of her conditions. Illusion Princess sneered and said, He's not as good as you in every aspect. But there's one thing that you'll never be as good as him. Li Mu was not convinced and said, What is it? Illusion Princess's mouth twitched and said, He's more loyal than you. Li Mu couldn't refute this. Illusion Princess was still angry and wouldn't let go of any opportunity to attack him. It was best to keep a distance from him. He walked into the courtyard. Not long after, he saw two people bringing Hu Jiao and Hu Lu in. Hu Jiao quickly walked into the palace. When Hu Lu walked past Li Mu, she suddenly realized something and hugged his arm. Li Mu subconsciously wanted to pull his arm away, but she hugged him even tighter. Hu Lu stuck close to Li Mu and transmitted her voice. I'm your woman now. If you want to act like it. If you're suspected, all your efforts will be wasted. The two small monsters outside the palace looked at Li Mu with envy. Hu Jiao turned around and said coldly, Cheating couple. Chapter 482. Inside the palace, Hu Jiao said to Huanji angrily, Lord Huanji, Sister Six betrayed us. She's with a mixed eagle. Huanji was still angry about the little snake, so she ignored Hu Jiao. Hu Lu came in from outside and walked to Huanji. She heaved a sigh of relief and said, Lord Huanji, it's great that you're fine. Hu Jiao stared at her and said coldly, Keep pretending. Keep pretending. When we were in the dungeon, you were so happy when you knew we were caught. Huanji held Hu Lu's hand and said, I'm sorry. Hu Lu shook her head and said with a smile, I'm not sorry at all. Hu Jiao looked at Huanji and then at Hu Lu. She suddenly asked, Lord Huanji, Sister Six, are you hiding something from me? Hu Lu glared at her and said, Shut up and go away. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. In Thousand Fox Country, a piece of news from the palace shocked the whole city. The king of Thousand Fox Country, Bai Xian, was going to marry the daughter of the Heavenly Lord, the former elder of Meizong sect, Lord Huanji. Many demon citizens didn't believe it when they heard the news. The Huan family was betrayed by Bai Xian. Huanji's father, the Heavenly Lord of Illusions, was missing. Her brother was imprisoned in the dungeon because of Bai Xian. She and Bai Xian were mortal enemies. But now, she was going to marry her enemy? After thinking about it, they didn't find it strange. Her brother's life was in the hands of others, and she was in the hands of the enemy. What choice did she have? Many people in Thousand Fox City sympathized with Huanji. But because of Bai Xian's power, no one dared to say anything. Thousand Fox Country wasn't big. The news that the king was going to marry an empress soon spread throughout Thousand Fox Country. Half a month later, their wedding ceremony would be held in the palace. When the time came, there would be a grand banquet outside the imperial palace that would last for 3 days as the entire nation celebrated together. Many nearby monster races would also be invited to participate in this ceremony. The snake and bear races were in a tense situation with them, so they shouldn't send anyone. But no matter what, the Heavenly Wolf Empire had to send a monster king with some weight. In the palace, Bai Xian sat cross-legged. A page in his hand was glowing faintly. After an unknown period of time, he slowly opened his eyes and put away the page. This time, he did not comprehend anything useful from the heavenly book. However, since he had already obtained the heavenly book, There would be plenty of opportunities in the future. He thought about Huan Ji's request and reached out his hand. A black lotus appeared in his palm. He said respectfully to the black lotus, "How are your injuries?" After an unknown period of time, a hoarse voice came from the black lotus. "What is it?" Bai Xian faced Black Lotus and said even more respectfully, "In half a month, it will be my wedding day. I would like to ask honored elder to preside over my wedding." This time Bai Xian did not have to wait for long before the Black Lotus responded, "I will be there personally." Bai Xian was overjoyed and hurriedly said, "Many thanks, honorable elder." To have a 7th-level elder of Glory Sect officiate his wedding was a great honor indeed. It was also a good opportunity to show those wolf cubs who was the true son of Glory Sect. At this moment, in a palace, Hu Jiao looked at Huan Ji in confusion and asked, "Lord Huan Ji, are you really going to marry that traitor Bai Xian?" Huan Ji asked back, "What else can I do? We are already in his hands. Bai Xian threatened me that if I don't agree, he will kill you on the first day, Hu Lu on the second day, and Huan Yun on the third day. Do I have a choice?" Hu Jiao lowered her head in shame and gritted her teeth, "It's all because of our incompetence." At this moment, Bai Xian strode in from outside and said with a smile, "Junior sister, honorable elder has agreed. When we get married, he will preside over our wedding." Huan Ji said calmly, "You have quite a lot of face." Bai Xian smiled, "We are about to get married. My face is your face." He glanced at Hu Lu and seemed to have thought of something. He looked at Li Mu and said, "Ying Qi, do you want me to help you with the matter between you and Hu Lu?" Li Mu froze for a moment and then waved his hand. "No need, no need. I'm just playing around. I don't want to marry her." Bai Xian looked at him meaningfully and said, "As expected of you." He was about to leave when Huan Ji suddenly said, "Wait." Bai Xian turned around and asked, "Junior sister, is there anything else?" Huan Ji looked at Li Mu indifferently and said, "I treat Hu Lu as my sister, but you let your subordinates humiliate her. You are humiliating yourself." Bai Xian thought about it and felt that what she said made sense. He turned to Li Mu and said, "Ying Qi, from now on, don't have any ideas about Hu Lu." Li Mu immediately panicked. "First elder, this is what you promised me." Bai Xian waved his hand and said, "It's decided. I will compensate you when the time comes. I will give you a few more female demons. But you already have a dozen at home. Are you still not satisfied?" Li Mu said, "Who would think it's too much? One a day, one a month." Bai Xian couldn't help but say, "How can I have such a shameless demon as you as my subordinate?" At this moment, Huan Ji continued, "Hu Lu will live with me for a few days. Let him stay and serve Hu Lu. Let him take revenge for the humiliation." Bai Xian nodded without hesitation. When he turned to leave, he said, "Ying Qi, you stay." Li Mu quickly chased after him and said, "First elder, this." Without waiting for him to finish, Bai Xian interrupted him. "In order to satisfy the Empress, you'll have to suffer a bit these days. They won't go too far. After we're done with these things, I'll let you have a banshee's turn every night for a month." Li Mu's expression turned serious as he said solemnly, "For the Empress, this subordinate is willing to climb a mountain of swords and plunge into a sea of fire. This subordinate is willing to give his all." After Bai Xian left, Li Mu walked in again. He frowned at Huan Ji and transmitted his voice. "What do you want now?" Huan Ji looked at him and transmitted her voice. "My clan will repay kindness and revenge. If I let you go like this, Bai Xian might be suspicious. This is the only way we can do things." Li Mu asked back, "Then if I help you take revenge, how will you repay me?" Huan Ji said calmly, "If you want, the Empress of Thousand Fox Country will always be yours." Hu Jiao looked at the two in a daze. His brain stopped working. What revenge? What repayment? The Empress of Thousand Fox Country will always be yours? Why couldn't he understand a single word? He was about to ask when Hu Lu glared at him. Seal your spiritual sense. Don't listen or ask anything. Although Hu Jiao was very curious, he still obediently sealed his spiritual sense. From these few words, he already heard a shocking secret. He knew he couldn't keep it a secret, so he might as well not listen. Seeing that Li Mu didn't speak, Huan Ji said to Hu Lu, "Hu Lu, you can take revenge on him as you wish. Remember to be ruthless. That way, Bai Xian will believe you more easily." She reached out and a whip appeared in her hand. She threw it to Hulu. Hulu held the whip and looked at Li Mu. Li Mu looked at her. Hulu shivered and ran behind Huan Ji. She said in a trembling voice, "Lord Huan Ji, I don't dare." Although Hulu dared to joke around with Li Mu, she knew very well that the person standing in front of her wasn't as gentle as he looked. This was a person who dared to enter the Yao nation's hinterland alone and spy beside a Realm 6 elite. He didn't fear the threat of a Realm 7 elite and dared to fight against Thousand Fox country controlled by Xian alone. He didn't care about the elders of the sage sect. How could she dare to whip such a person? Huan Ji walked over and took the whip from her hand. She said, "If you don't dare to come, I will." She held the whip and stared at Li Mu fiercely. She had already raised her hand, but she couldn't swing it down. The person standing in front of her wasn't Xian's eagle demon, but the little snake, which was Li Mu. One of them was once her most trusted subordinate, and the other was a man who had helped her many times. Even now, she didn't know how to face this man. She was very angry at Li Mu for hiding the truth and the little snake's betrayal. She wanted to whip him hundreds of times to vent her anger. But when she really picked up the whip, she found that she couldn't do it. Seeing Huan Ji stop there, Li Mu thought for a moment and said, "I'll do it myself." He waved his hand and the whip in Huan Ji's hand flew out and hovered in the air. Although Huan Ji wanted to use this opportunity to vent her anger, her words were very reasonable. Normally, Huan Ji and Hulu wouldn't let Eagle 7 go. Bai Xian also thought so and was prepared to compensate Li Mu after this. If he didn't suffer any torture, Bai Xian might be suspicious. Thinking about this, Li Mu controlled the whip from afar and let it hit his body. Xiao, xiao xiao, pa pa pa. In the room, the sound of the whip cutting through the air and the sound of it hitting flesh could be heard. Huan Ji and Hulu were dumbfounded. How could someone torture themselves? Li Mu showed no mercy to him. He whipped him again and again. Soon, bloody scars appeared on his face and arms. Even the clothes on his body were torn to shreds, revealing his body that was covered in wounds. Seeing Li Mu's exposed body, Huan Ji and Hulu couldn't help but exclaim and covered their mouths. What kind of body was this? There wasn't a single piece of undamaged skin, and it was covered with crisscrossing wounds. In some places, the old wounds overlapped with the new ones, causing blood to gush out continuously. However, he didn't care at all, and continued to lash his own body. When Li Mu waved the whip from afar again, Huan Ji suddenly reached out and grabbed the whip. She slowly walked in front of Li Mu and touched the wounds on his body. She bit her lips and asked, "You, why are you doing this? Aren't you afraid of death?" Li Mu allowed the blood to flow out from his wounds. A figure reclining on the dragon throne appeared in his mind. He smiled and said, "Of course it's for our empress." Chapter 483. Hiss. Li Mu's wounds were still bleeding, and the fox's claws had left 5 bloody scratches. He hurriedly retreated. Illusion Princess did not look at him anymore. She snorted and said, "What's so good about the Empress of the Great Zhou that you treat her like this?" Li Mu could not finish talking about the Empress in a day and a night, and he was too lazy to explain it to Illusion Princess. Illusion Princess thought about Li Mu's blissful smile when he talked about the Great Zhou, and her heart was filled with anger. That Zhou-yi had people willing to go through fire and water, and she, Illusion Princess, had once done the same. If the little snake was still here, his loyalty to her would not lose to Li Mu's loyalty to Zhou-yi. Unfortunately, Li Mu was real, and the little snake was fake. They were both subordinates, but Li Mu's loyalty to the Empress of the Great Zhou was sincere, but his love for her was fake. Illusion Princess was sad and disappointed. She closed her eyes and said, "Go, I don't want to see you again." Li Mu walked out of the palace. The smile on his face gradually disappeared, and it was replaced by melancholy. When she started to hate the little snake, she would be able to walk out of this wrong relationship. She would be able to transfer the hatred that originated from the illusory little snake to the real Li Mu. Although this would make him feel even more indebted to her, it was better to end the pain quickly than to prolong the pain. In the future, Li Mu would make it up to her 10-fold or even 100-fold. Outside the palace, the 2 little demons saw Li Mu's tattered clothes and the wounds on his body. Some of the wounds were still bleeding. They could not help but shiver. They could not imagine what had just happened inside. Li Mu's appearance was too pitiful. An hour later, even Bai Xian knew about this. He summoned Li Mu to the palace, and the first thing he saw was the whip marks on his face. He was shocked and said, "These were all done by them?" Li Mu nodded. Bai Xian shook his head. He took out a pill and gave it to Eagle 7. "Eat this first. Don't worry, Eagle 7. I will remember what you did today. I won't mistreat you in the future. Just bear with it for now." Li Mu cupped his hands and said, "Eagle 7 won't feel wronged working for Great Elder." Bai Xian patted his shoulder and said, "Go and heal yourself." Li Mu cupped his hands and excused himself. It had to be said that, putting aside his sinister nature, Bai Xian really liked Huan Ji, to the point of indulging her. Li Mu could empathize with this feeling. This was how the Empress treated him. Sometimes, even he himself felt that the Empress was too indulgent towards him. Now that he thought about it from the perspective of a bystander, could it be that the Empress treated him? Thinking about it carefully, this was not impossible. In terms of clinginess, she was actually much more clingy than Xianxia. It was just that she didn't show it as much as Xianxia. Li Mu didn't dare to think too much about this matter. He returned to Huan Ji's residence. Huan Ji went to the inner hall. Hu Lu guarded the outer hall and asked Li Mu carefully through voice transmission, "What should we do on that day?" Li Mu replied, "You don't have to do anything. Just protect yourselves." Hu Lu took a deep breath and asked, "You have to deal with the Holy Sect Elder and 2 sixth realms of the Bai family alone. Maybe Tianlang Nation will send a 6th realm cultivator too." Li Mu's expression was calm. He said calmly, "Don't worry. I have my ways." Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. The past half a month was the most peaceful half a month in Thousand Fox Nation. The Empress coronation ceremony was about to be held. The atmosphere of celebration completely replaced the solemn atmosphere brought by the war. Under the Empress's request, red silk and lanterns were hung up everywhere in Thousand Fox Nation, whether it was houses or shops, since 3 days ago. The citizens of the city welcomed this grand event together. Today was the official day of the Empress coronation ceremony. Since the morning, gongs and drums were played everywhere in the city. It was extremely lively. Although demons hated humans, they respected human etiquette and customs very much. It was said that this set of etiquette was copied from a certain country. The Empress coronation ceremony was held in the square in front of Thousand Fox Nation's imperial palace. The ground of the square was paved with white jade. Countless tables were placed on it, prepared for the guests attending the ceremony. Those who could sit here were all demons with some strength within 1,000 miles. The lowest cultivation level was at the transformation realm. Demons of the core formation realm were everywhere. In front of the square, a row of stone steps extended to a platform in front of the palace. There were only a dozen tables on the platform. Sitting there were the 5th realm elders of Meizong sect and the members of the Bai royal family. At the very front of the platform, there was a tall white jade chair. Bai Xian had announced early on that the 7th realm elders of Glory sect would attend this ceremony. The seat at the front was obviously reserved for him. However, it was empty at the moment. On the left side of the white jade chair, there were 2 other chairs. These 2 chairs were also made of white jade. However, they were not as tall as that one. An old man and a middle-aged man sat on them. The old man was the grandfather of the current empress, the other 6th realm by family cultivator. As for the middle-aged man, he was the heavenly wolf king of the wolf tribe. Although the green wolf king did not come personally, sending a 6th realm heavenly wolf king was already giving Thousand Fox Nation a lot of face. On the right side of the tall white jade chair, there were also 2 seats for the newlyweds. Today, Empress Bai Xian of Thousand Fox Nation would be enshrined here under the blessings of thousands of demons. In a certain hall in the imperial palace, Li Mu and a few of his subordinates were waiting outside the hall. His mission today was to pass through the palace and bring Phantom Princess to the ceremony. After waiting for a long time, Hu Lu walked out of the hall with a girl. The woman's face was lightly powdered, and there was a flower ornament between her eyebrows. She wore a bright-colored phoenix robe. The phoenix robe stretched from her chest to her waist, and the rest of her beauty was completely hidden by her wide skirt. Li Mu's throat moved. He felt a little dry. Although there was a fox at home, and Li Mu had experienced the charm of a fox demon, Xiao Bai's charm was completely different from Phantom Princess's mature charm. Phantom Princess could sense some emotions from Li Mu's eyes. She felt a little smug in her heart. Then, she fell into a state of worry for the future. What was about to happen might be the biggest turning point in her life. Whether she succeeded or failed, it was crucial to her. Li Mu reached out his hand and said softly, "Lord Phantom Princess, let's go." Phantom Princess raised her hand and placed it on Li Mu's hand. At that moment, her heart suddenly calmed down. She followed Li Mu and slowly walked towards the plaza where the ceremony was held. In front of the imperial palace, Bai Xian stood on the platform. Seeing his most trusted subordinate bring his most beloved girl here, he felt that he had reached the peak of his life. On the plaza, the gazes of all the demons followed the figure in the red phoenix robe. Li Mu held Phantom Princess's hand and walked through the plaza. They walked up the stairs and came to a high platform. Bai Xian smiled. Just as he was about to hold Phantom Princess's hand, Li Mu coughed and transmitted his voice. "First Elder, don't forget about that person from the Glory Sect." Bai Xian was shocked. He was too happy. If not for Ying Qi's reminder, he would have made a huge mistake. He looked at Ying Qi with admiration and walked to the front of the platform. He bowed towards the sky and said loudly, "Welcome, Honorable Elder." After Bai Xian said that, no matter if it was the platform or the plaza, everyone stood up and bowed towards the front. "Welcome, Honorable Elder. Welcome, Honorable Elder." Their voices echoed throughout the entire Thousand Fox country. Under everyone's gaze, the space above rippled and a gray-robed figure appeared out of thin air. It was an old man wearing a simple gray robe with 3 black lotuses embroidered on the left chest. Bai Xian was excited. He bowed again and said, "Welcome, Honorable Elder." All the demons present, including Welkin Wolf King and Elder Ancestor Bai, said in unison, "Welcome, Honorable Elder." The gray-robed old man's expression was calm, but he was very satisfied with this show of extravagance. He was about to fly down under everyone's gaze. However, at this moment, a smile appeared in a certain eagle-like eyes on the platform. An untimely voice slowly sounded. "They're here, brother." The voice was not loud, but it was very sudden. All the powerhouses on the platform heard it clearly. Before they could find the source of the voice, there was a sudden change in the sky. 8 figures appeared out of thin air. Their bodies were filled with thick demonic qi and corpse qi. Even level. 5 demonic beasts were suffocated by this enormous aura. Among the 8 figures, 5 of them formed a circle and surrounded the old man. The other 3 streaks of light headed straight for the ground. The gray-robed old man's expression changed drastically. When he came to his senses, his voice was filled with endless rage. "Bai Xian, how dare you scheme against me?" Bai Xian stood there in a daze. He quickly thought of something and turned around. He stared at Huan Ji and gritted his teeth. "It's you." Huan Ji grabbed the collar of her phoenix robe and pulled it off, revealing a white robe and a white dress. Huan Ji looked at Bai Xian and said coldly, "You traitor. Today, I will avenge my father and the dead elder. You're courting death." Bai Xian was still standing there, unable to accept it. Elder Ancestor Bai was completely enraged and disappeared from the white jade chair. Bang! In the next moment, a dull sound came from the sky. Elder Ancestor Bai appeared again and looked at a demon corpse in front of him cautiously. At the same time, Welkin Wolf King also flew up. After observing the situation, he looked at another demon corpse. His eyes flashed. The last demonic corpse stood beside Huan Ji, motionless. Because there were still 3 sixth realm cultivators present, Li Mu could not guarantee Phantom Princess's safety. Hence, when he trapped the Sage Sect Elder, he only used 5 demon corpses. 8 demon corpses formed the 8 Baron Corpse Refining Array, which could defeat a 7th realm cultivator. With 3 less, he could only form the 5 Elements Array. Although it was weaker, it was not a big problem to deal with an injured 7th realm cultivator. Elder Ancestor Bai, Welkin Wolf King, and the 2 demon corpses were fighting. Bai Xian glanced at Huan Ji and stopped at Li Mu. He gritted his teeth and asked, "Why?" He had heard very clearly that the abrupt voice had come from Eagle 7. Li Mu's expression changed and returned to his original appearance. He looked at Bai Xian seriously and said, "Sorry, I'm a spy." Chapter 484. Bai Xian wore a red wedding robe and stood on the platform in front of the palace in a daze. Huan Ji was his favorite woman. Ying Qi was his most trusted subordinate. Today, on the day of his wedding, the woman he loved the most and his most trusted subordinate had joined forces to betray him. Before he could reach the peak of his life, he had fallen to the bottom of the abyss. The revered elder of the sage sect was surrounded by 5 unknown experts and was obviously at a disadvantage. His grandfather and the Welkin Wolf King who had come from afar could not get away. The guests looked at this scene in shock and fear. There was no longer the celebratory atmosphere in the palace. The wedding that he had been looking forward to was completely ruined. Bai Xian's chest heaved up and down. An extremely crazy aura was brewing in his body. His eyes turned blood red and his body was filled with violence. At this moment, there was no other emotion in his heart. There was only destruction and killing. In an instant, his figure disappeared. At the same time, Li Mu sensed that he was locked on by a powerful aura. In his extreme rage, Bai Xian's strength actually increased by quite a bit. Li Mu's body instinctively moved several feet to the side, and at the position where he had been standing, a fox claw suddenly reached out from the void, fiercely grasping at the air, but only grasped air. If Li Mu was still standing there, his heart would have been crushed by the fox claw. Bai Xian's figure disappeared again after his attack failed. This time, Li Mu's body flashed and a golden armor appeared. As soon as the armor appeared, it shattered and Bai Xian appeared again. Bai Xian reached out with his fox claw again. His target was Li Mu's throat. A green light flashed in Li Mu's hand as he met the attack with his sword. Just as Bai Xian was attacking Li Mu, some of the Meizong sect elders who were loyal to him, as well as the experts from the Bai family, began to attack Huan Ji, Hu Jiao, and Hu Lu. Fortunately, Li Mu had expected this. He left a demon corpse beside Huan Ji to protect them. Honored Master Thousand Illusions mind-splitting technique, combined with the corpse sex corpse refining technique, allowed Li Mu to control the demon corpses as he pleased while focusing on the battle in front of him. Even if Bai Xian's cultivation was forcefully raised, his spiritual power was still at the 6th realm. In terms of spiritual power, Li Mu was no match for him. He made a hand seal, and multiple shadows appeared around his body. Each of them looked exactly like him. This was the deification formula of the 9 words mantra. Facing the 6 identical Li Mu, Bai Xian couldn't tell them apart. He roared and 6 foxtails appeared behind him. The 6 foxtails grew rapidly and the tips were like swords. They stabbed towards the 6 avatars of Li Mu. The foxtails were extremely fast and arrived almost instantaneously. 5 of the avatars were pierced by the foxtails and slowly dissipated. The other Li Mu did not have time to use any Fulu or Dharma treasures. He could only cross his arms in front of his chest and was hit by the foxtails. He retreated more than 10 steps and only stopped when he reached the bottom of the stairs. At this moment, Li Mu's arms were numb. Even with his strong body after unshackling, he could barely withstand Bai Xian's attack. Bai Xian's power was still at the bottom of the 6th realm. This showed the difference between the 5th and 6th realms. Of course, this was under the circumstance that Li Mu had not yet used his supernatural powers and Dao techniques. However, Dao techniques and supernatural powers were ultimately external objects. If he were to encounter the situation in the Demon Emperor's cave, no matter how powerful his Dao techniques were, they would be useless. Li Mu did not underestimate Bai Xian anymore. He raised his hand and used the 1,000 Swords transformation. Bai Xian's hands held up a shield of Dharma power. The sword shadows in the sky could not break through the shield. Li Mu used the second form of the Demon Slayer protective incantation. Wind and thunder filled the sky, but Bai Xian blocked it with his Dharma power. Although the 2 consecutive Dao techniques did not break through Bai Xian's defense, Bai Xian was not feeling well. His hair was disheveled and his face was pale. His aura was much weaker than before, but the anger in his heart was raging. He was the Grand Elder of the Meizong sect, the monarch of the 1,000 Fox country. How could he be so embarrassed by such a small fry? His hair fluttered and the 6 foxtails shot towards Li Mu again. They were so fast that they created a sonic boom. If this attack landed on Li Mu's body, even with his Buddhist golden body realm body, he would be turned into minced meat. Li Mu did not want to possess someone else's body, nor did he want to become a ghost cultivator. He quickly formed a seal with his hands and a yin-yang Pisces diagram appeared in front of him. Bai Xian's 6 tails slammed into the yin-yang Pisces diagram. In an instant, they went from extreme motion to extreme stillness. A strong impact spread out from the foxtails and the yin-yang Pisces diagram. In the square, countless tables were overturned. The demons had already fled in all directions. Li Mu was still standing on the same spot. Bai Xian was directly sent flying by the impact. At this moment, in the sky, the sage sect elder and the 5 demon corpses were in a black fog. They could only vaguely see the light of spells flashing in the black fog. They did not know the specific situation. The Heavenly Wolf King and Elder Ancestor Bai were still being held back by the 2 demon corpses. They could not escape. They were extremely shocked. These 8 demon corpses had appeared out of nowhere. They were terrifyingly strong. Each of them was comparable to a 6th realm cultivator. If they were cultivators of the 6th realm, then so be it. However, they were all inanimate beings without intelligence. They were fearless and fearless, advancing forward courageously. The Welkin Wolf King and the Bai family's elder ancestor could not do that. When they fought, their momentum weakened, and they were always in a passive position. The Heavenly Wolf King clutched his arm. A few streaks of black smoke had already appeared on his face. His right arm had been accidentally scratched by the demon corpse. Until now, he had not been able to force the corpse poison out of his body. The corpse poison of this demon corpse was far stronger than that of ordinary zombies. He had to suppress the corpse poison while fighting this demon corpse. If this continued, even if he could win, he would have to pay a heavy price. Looking down, the elder ancestor Bai and the sage sect elder did not seem optimistic. Even if he won, it would be meaningless. The Heavenly Wolf King's eyes flashed. At some point, he abandoned the demon corpse and turned into a ray of light, escaping into the distance. Seeing the Heavenly Wolf King escape, the elder ancestor Bai cursed the Wolf clan's ancestors in his heart. He could barely deal with 1 demon corpse alone. If another one came, he would definitely lose. Fortunately, after the Heavenly Wolf King escaped, the demon corpse did not attack him. Instead, it went straight for the black fog where the sage sect elder was. Li Mu did not want to let the Heavenly Wolf King go. However, it was difficult to hide the changes in Jianghu nation. Whether the Heavenly Wolf King went back to report or not, the result would be the same. It was better to deal with the sage sect elder as soon as possible and stabilize the situation in Jianghu nation. As soon as Li Mu gave the order to the spirit corpse, Bai Xian's figure appeared in front of him again. Needless to say, a 6th realm cultivator was too difficult to deal with. Li Mu was about to take out a golden armor talisman when a white-robed figure appeared beside him. The Meizong and Bai family cultivators worked together to hold back the demon corpse. They did not have time to deal with Huan Ji. Huan Ji went to Li Mu's side. After a long time, the 2 of them fought side by side again. Bai Xian looked at them coldly and said word by word, "All of you will die today." Li Mu and Huan Ji looked at each other. Li Mu formed a seal with one hand and said, "Formation." Bai Xian suddenly felt his body stiffen. It was as if there was an invisible force that trapped him here. He quickly circulated his dermic powers and broke free of the bindings. However, he was still trapped for a moment. At this moment, a golden whip in Huan Ji's hand was already on his body. After withstanding the whip, a double image appeared outside Bai Xian's body. It was his primordial spirit. Huan Ji's whip directly knocked Bai Xian's primordial spirit out of his body. Bai Xian's expression changed. Just as his primordial spirit was about to return to his body, an illusory sword pierced through his primordial spirit's chest. Bai Xian's primordial spirit looked at Li Mu and Huan Ji in disbelief. It gradually collapsed into light spots and dissipated into the void. The corpse without the primordial spirit also fell down powerlessly. Huan Ji put away her golden whip. Her legs gave way and her body fell down powerlessly. That whip just now had used up all of her dermic powers and physical strength. Li Mu caught her in time. This whip was a heaven-class magic treasure given to him by the Empress before he left. This treasure did not harm the physical body but only the primordial spirit and the soul. When a 6th realm cultivator was hit by this whip, the primordial spirit would also leave the body. Together with the last move of the Demon Slayer protection incantation, it could pose a fatal threat to those who had just entered the 6th realm. Li Mu and Huan Ji's primordial spirits had practiced these moves countless times in the demon royal space. He carried Huan Ji by her waist and handed her to Hu Lu. With the fastest speed, he captured Bai Xian's subordinates and released the spiritual corpse, sending it straight to the black fog in the sky. The demonic corpses surrounding the sage sect elder changed from 5 to 7. The formation also changed from the 5 elements formation to the 7 deadly formation. The dermic powers in the black fog fluctuated even more violently. Li Mu heaved a sigh of relief. This sage sect elder was indeed badly injured by the Lord of Illusions. Perhaps there was a chance to keep him here today. As soon as this thought came to his mind, the black fog suddenly exploded. The 7 demonic corpses were blown away, and their auras were weakened by more than half. The sage sect elder was nowhere to be seen. Li Mu saw a black lotus rushing out of the black fog and shooting into the distance. The black lotus was so fast that it was impossible to catch up with it. In the blink of an eye, it had disappeared from Li Mu's sight. But at this moment, a silver light suddenly rushed out from one of the mountain peaks that the black lotus had passed and directly rushed into the black lotus. The next moment, the sage sect elder's frightened voice came from the horizon. "My lord! Illusions, you have been here all this time." Chapter 485. Although Li Mu had been using Bai Xian to scheme against this sage sect elder, he had no illusions of keeping him here. A centipede would die but not fall down. An injured Realm 7 expert was still a Realm 7 expert. It was rare for a Realm 6 expert to die, and it was almost unheard of for a Realm 7 expert to die. When this person was swept away by the Black Lotus and escaped, Li Mu knew that he could not keep him here. But he never expected that the Lord of Illusions would appear midway. The Black Lotus stopped in the void and kept trembling. It was obvious that the primordial spirit of the Lord of Illusions was fighting fiercely with the primordial spirit of this sage sect elder. As for the sage sect elder's body, it had already exploded when he fought with the 7 demon corpses. Facing the 7 deadly formation, he had to be careful even when he was at his peak, let alone when he was seriously injured. In order to break through this formation, he had paid a terrible price. Now, it was time to see who was more seriously injured between him and the Lord of Illusions. Obviously, Huan Ji did not know that the Lord of Illusions was hiding here. After being stunned for a moment, she became excited and blurted out, "Father?" Li Mu reminded her, "You can't help there. Go save Huan Yun and the elders first. We have to take control of Jianghu nation as soon as possible. The Celestial Wolf King has escaped, and the news will spread soon. The Green Wolf King may come personally." After Li Mu's reminder, Huan Ji immediately came to her senses and hurried to the dungeon with Hu 6 and Hu 9. Bai Xian was dead, and his subordinates were all captured. Li Mu looked up at the Bai family's patriarch, who was still stubbornly resisting. With a thought, the 8 demon corpses surrounded the Bai family's patriarch. The Bai family's patriarch, who was only at Realm 6, was soon captured. Although he had taken down Jianghu nation temporarily, Li Mu could not let his guard down. Because in his plan, this was the easiest thing to do. It was easy to take down the Thousand Fox Nation, but the difficult part was how to resist the counterattack of the Celestial Wolf race after taking down the Thousand Fox Nation, as well as how to deal with the demonic path sacred sect. Li Mu looked at the trembling Black Lotus and hoped that the Sky Lord of Illusions could help. If he could get rid of that sage sect elder, it would have a huge impact on both sides. By then, the enemy would have 1 less 7th realm cultivator and 1 more 7th realm cultivator on our side. The pressure would be reduced exponentially. That old fox hadn't fled the area as soon as possible after being severely injured. Instead, he had been lurking around Thousand Fox Nation, waiting for an opportunity to strike. Not everyone had that kind of courage. After Phantom Princess took care of the Thousand Fox Kingdom's affairs, she flew towards the Black Lotus Kingdom. To be on the safe side, Li Mu followed behind her. He had already put away Bai Xian's corpse. Li Mu took out an item from his storage space and gave it to Phantom Princess. "This is for you." The tomes of Arcane were recovered. Phantom Princess took the page from Li Mu and said, "Thank you." Li Mu didn't say anything else and focused all his attention on the Black Lotus Kingdom. The trembling Black Lotus Kingdom showed how intense the battle was. At a certain moment, an extremely angry voice came from the Black Lotus. "Sky Lord of Illusions, just you wait. The next time I descend, it will be the day you die." As soon as he said this, the Black Lotus trembled to the extreme. Li Mu's expression changed and he immediately protected Phantom Princess in his arms. At the same time, the law bell flew out from his ear and covered Li Mu and Phantom Princess. Boom! The trembling Black Lotus Kingdom suddenly exploded. Fragments flew everywhere, bringing with it a powerful spiritual power fluctuation. After the explosion, a huge pit with a radius of a few hundred feet appeared. Countless small hills were directly flattened. Li Mu hid in the law bell with Phantom Princess in his arms. Looking at the scene in front of him, he swallowed his saliva with lingering fear. If it weren't for the law bell, he and Phantom Princess would have been killed by the explosion of the Black Lotus Kingdom. Due to the explosion, a lotus petal streaked across the sky at an unbelievable speed and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The image of a handsome middle-aged man floated in the air and said regretfully, "He still got away." Li Mu put away the law bell and let go of Phantom Princess. She looked at the illusory figure and said emotionally, "Father?" The Sky Lord of Illusions looked at Phantom Princess lovingly and said, "I've made you suffer." Phantom Princess shook her head and said, "I didn't suffer at all." Li Mu glanced at her. Of course she didn't suffer at all because he was the one who suffered. He was the spy, the one who injured the elders of the sage sect, and the one who stopped the celestial wolf king and elder ancestor by. She just had to win. What was there to suffer? 2 hours later, in the imperial palace of the Thousand Fox Kingdom, the subordinates loyal to Bai Xian had been captured. Hu Lu and Hu Jiu rescued the trapped elders and easily stabilized the situation. As for the demons of the Thousand Fox Kingdom, it didn't make much of a difference to them who was the king. Compared to Bai Xian, they preferred Lord Phantom Princess. In the imperial palace, the Sky Lord of Illusion's voice floated, "I sent so many people to capture you. I didn't expect you to come to me yourself in the end." Li Mu said indifferently, "If you could solve the problem of the Yao Kingdom by yourselves, why would I come here?" The Sky Lord of Illusions looked at him and said, "Now that things have come to this, the enmity between us is written off. Phantom Princess needs the power of the Great Zhou Court to gain a foothold in the Yao Kingdom. The Great Zhou Court also needs us to keep the Celestial Wolf Kingdom in check. This is not help, but a deal." Li Mu nodded and said, "That's right." The Sky Lord of Illusions continued, "Since it's a deal, no matter what you do, the Huan family doesn't owe you or the Great Zhou Court anything. However, I can promise you that as long as the Huan family controls the Thousand Fox Kingdom, the Celestial Wolf tribe will never be able to unify the Yao Kingdom." Li Mu looked at him and said, "I hope you can do as you say." The Sky Lord of Illusions looked outside and said, "The prerequisite is that you can stop that old wolf." Li Mu said indifferently, "You don't need to worry about that." Although the conversation between Li Mu and the Sky Lord of Illusions was cold and emotionless, Li Mu liked this kind of straightforwardness. There was no need to talk about gratitude or enmity, only pure benefits. Simple and straightforward, there was nothing more stable than this kind of relationship. The Sky Lord of Illusion's primordial spirit was already extremely weak. In terms of battle, he could not be counted on for now. Li Mu originally wanted to return his corpse, but since the Sky Lord of Illusions made it clear that this was a deal, he would not do it for free. The corpses of 7th-level cultivators were rare. If he gave it to Chen Shi, he could quickly refine a 6th-level demon corpse. He chose a palace in the palace as his temporary residence. Not long after, Phantom Princess walked in and said calmly, "Thank you for saving me." Li Mu waved his hand and said, "No need to thank me." Phantom Princess laughed self-deprecatingly and asked, "Is it because the deal can only continue as long as I'm alive?" Li Mu shook his head and said, "That's not important. In short, I can't watch you die." "No, this is very important." Phantom Princess walked to his side and looked into his eyes. She said seriously, "Look into my eyes and tell me, did you come to Thousand Fox Nation for the Empress of Great Zhou and for the Great Zhou Court to join forces with the Fox race to fight against the Celestial Wolf race and prevent the Yao Nation from being unified?" This was one of Li Mu's goals for coming here, but it was not the most important. In his heart, whether the Yao Nation was unified or not did not matter much. It was naturally best if they were not unified. It would save him a lot of trouble. If they were unified and wanted to go to war with Great Zhou, every soldier on the front lines would have a heaven-grade Fu Lu. It would let the demon soldiers know what true cruelty was. If Great Zhou really went to war with the Yao Nation, it would not be difficult to achieve this with the power of the entire nation without caring about the resources. To a certain extent, The best way to do it once and for all was to beat the Yao nation until they were afraid. It was just that Li Mu would have to work harder. What Li Mu really cared about was the safety of Phantom Princess and Hu Jiao after the change in Thousand Fox Nation. This was the most important reason why he came here. However, he did not intend to tell Phantom Princess this. Li Mu hoped that Phantom Princess would hate him and not fall into a deeper tangle of hatred and repayment. If all of this was for the sake of a deal, then no matter what Li Mu did for her and how many times he saved her, it was all a deal. She did not owe Li Mu anything, so she naturally did not have to repay him. Li Mu met her gaze and nodded. Yes, I came to Thousand Fox Nation, but, as Li Mu spoke, the light in Phantom Princess's eyes suddenly dimmed. Li Mu's throat seemed to be blocked by a ball of cotton. He said with difficulty, but, Phantom Princess did not look at him anymore. The light in her eyes completely dimmed. She slowly turned around and walked outside. The moment she turned around, her hand was suddenly held by someone. Li Mu let out a long breath and said softly, I was just worried about you and Hu Jiao. Feeling the power of that hand, the light in Phantom Princess's eyes that had dimmed appeared again. She turned to look at Li Mu. Li Mu also looked at her and said helplessly, Lord Phantom Princess, the little snake is already dead. Why don't you let him rest assured? Phantom Princess stood there with a faint smile on her lips. She knew that her little snake had returned. Chapter 486. In the end, Li Mu couldn't respond to someone's true feelings with a fake one. In front of the Empress, he was Li Mu. In front of Phantom Princess, he was Little Snake. There was no conflict. Phantom Princess's shoulders were as soft as ever. With Li Mu standing behind her, it was as if they had returned to the past. At some point, Phantom Princess suddenly leaned against him. Then she began to sob quietly. In front of Hu Lu and Hu Jiao, she had to hold on because she wanted to be their pillar of support. Only in front of Li Mu did she not need to maintain her image. In front of Li Mu, she had no image at all. In the past 2 months, she had experienced a sudden change. She had to hide from Bai Xian's subordinates. In the midst of endless despair, she welcomed hope. Today, her father reappeared, Little Snake returned, and they regained control of Thousand Fox Nation. It all felt like a dream. She was afraid that it was just a dream. When she woke up, she would have to face the cruel reality. Li Mu let her lean on him. In the past few days, Phantom Princess had experienced too much. If she couldn't vent, these emotions would pile up in her heart and easily trigger her inner demons. After crying for a while, Phantom Princess stood up again. With her back facing Li Mu, she wiped away her tears and calmed down. From now on, she was the Empress of Thousand Fox Nation. She wouldn't easily shed a tear. At that moment, Li Mu suddenly felt the spirit snail vibrate. Ever since he left the divine capital, the spirit snail had been vibrating several times a day. However, because he was in Thousand Fox Nation, Li Mu hadn't contacted the Empress. The Empress also knew that Li Mu was inconvenient. After a few vibrations, she would give up. But this time, Li Mu didn't ignore the Empress. The matter of Thousand Fox Nation had been resolved. He could talk to the Empress openly and report the progress of the mission. As soon as Li Mu took out the spirit snail, it stopped vibrating. The Empress on the other side must have died. Li Mu infused his spiritual energy and tried again. Divine Capital. Li Manor. A trace of disappointment flashed through Zhou Yi's eyes. He habitually put away the spirit snail. Suddenly, the spirit snail in his hand vibrated slightly. A hint of joy flashed across her face, and she immediately channeled her mana. Li Mu's voice came from the other side. I'm sorry, Your Majesty, I've made you worry. Zhou Yi couldn't wait to ask. When will you come back? Li Mu said. Your Majesty can rest assured. This subject has already helped the Huan family regain control of the Thousand Fox country. It won't be easy for the demon sect in Tianlang country to unify the demon country. Zhou Yi asked. In other words, you are now using the spirit snail to talk to me. You don't have to be sneaky anymore? Li Mu replied. Yes, Your Majesty. I can contact you at any time. Zhou Yi said eagerly. Then take out the monocular. Xiao Bai and Wan Wan miss you. They want to see you. Bai Tingxin came over and quickly said, I miss you too. When Wan Wan and Xiao Bai heard the noise, they both ran out of their rooms. Bai Xin gave up on refining a cauldron of pills and quickly came to the courtyard as well. Li Mu took out a mirror from his storage space. This mirror was as tall as a person and was called the monocular. It was also a magic treasure for transmitting information. The spirit snail could only transmit sound, but the monocular could transmit images. When used together, it could complete a real-time video call. This mirror originally belonged to the imperial court. There was only one pair in the entire Great Zhou. The empress couldn't give Li Mu anything that belonged to the imperial court. But this time, he was carrying out an important secret mission, so the empress gave it to him in passing. Before leaving, she gave Li Mu many treasures. Li Mu still hadn't used most of them. Li Mu held the mirror vertically in front of him and channeled his transcendence energy. A vortex appeared on the surface of the mirror. Soon, an image appeared in the vortex. It was the courtyard of his home that Li Mu was familiar with. The empress, the sisters Xin and Tingxin, as well as Wan Wan and Xiao Bai were standing in the courtyard. They looked at Li Mu in the mirror expectantly. The smile on Zhou Yi's face froze when she saw Li Mu's face. She stared at Li Mu's face and asked coldly, What happened to your face? Li Mu touched his face and realized that the scars were still there. Although it would only take a few hours to remove these scars, he didn't treat them to avoid arousing suspicion. Even through the monocular, Li Mu could feel the empress' anger. Li Mu explained, It's just a small injury. It's not a big deal. Li Mu wanted to simply brush it off, but the empress didn't plan to stop. She looked at the scars that extended from Li Mu's face to his neck and said, Take off your clothes. Li Mu was stunned for a moment. Then he shook his head and said, Your Majesty, this isn't good, Zhou Yi said again. Take it off. Her voice was heavy and her tone was unquestionable. Li Mu was silent for a moment. Then, he slowly took off his outer clothes and revealed his body that was full of scars. Wan Wan and Xiao Bai saw this and cried out in surprise. They covered their mouths with their hands as tears welled up in their eyes. Bai Xin looked worried. Bai Tingxin gripped her sword and gritted her teeth. Who did this? I'm going to kill him. The empress didn't say anything. However, Li Mu knew that the more silent she was, the angrier she was. He quickly explained, Your Majesty, don't worry. These are all minor injuries. They will be healed in 2 or 3 days. Zhou Yi looked at the scars on Li Mu's body and asked, Who hurt you? Was it that fox spirit from Thousand Fox Nation? Huan Ji walked in front of Li Mu and looked at Zhou Yi in the mirror. She said unhappily, Who are you calling a fox spirit? Why did he suffer so many injuries? Others might not know, but you do. If it wasn't for you, why would he be a spy by Bai Xian's side? He risked his life to gain Bai Xian's trust. Everything he did was for you. What right do you have to blame others? Huan Ji looked at the woman in the mirror and let out a long breath of resentment. She had been holding this breath in her heart for a long time. She believed that she treated Little Snake as well as Zhou Yi treated Li Mu. However, he was only loyal to Zhou Yi despite both of them being subordinates. Huan Ji couldn't accept this and took the opportunity to speak her mind. In the monocular, Zhou Yi's chest heaved up and down. It took a long time for her to calm down. She looked at Li Mu and said, I want you to come back now. Immediately. Immediately. Don't bother with the demon nation's matters. It doesn't matter if they unify or not. If they dare to invade the Great Zhou, I will gather the strength of the entire nation to flatten the demon nation and eliminate all future troubles. Li Mu knew that the Empress was extremely angry. She might really do such a thing. However, he had worked so hard for so long to resolve the demon nation's matters peacefully. If the Great Zhou and the demon nation went to war, the people would be the ones to suffer. At that time, all the efforts he and the Empress had put in to unite the people would go to waste. Once the faith of the people regressed, it would be difficult to gather them again. In this way, she would be forever bound to the throne, unable to leave. Li Mu quickly said to the monocular, Your Majesty, please calm down. Leave the demon nation's matters to me. Once I'm done here, I will return as soon as possible. After saying that, he put away the monocular without waiting for the Empress' response. After letting out a sigh of relief, Li Mu looked at Huan Ji helplessly and scolded, Why are you saying all this? Huan Ji put her hands on her hips and said angrily, she wronged me. Why can't I say anything? Besides, you were injured because of her. Anyone can blame me except her. Li Mu waved his hand and said, Okay. I won't blame you. He had just been freed from the Empress. He did not want to be entangled with Huan Ji again. However, Huan Ji did not plan to let Li Mu go. She asked, In your heart, is Zhou Yi more important or am I more important? Li Mu thought about it and said, In Li Mu's heart, your majesty is more important. In my little snake's heart, you are more important. After all, the two of them would never meet. The next time he used the monocular to video call the Empress, he would avoid Huan Ji. That would solve this problem perfectly. Phantom Princess didn't force Li Mu any further because she knew that this was the best answer she could give him. She clenched her teeth and said, Now you are my little snake. Go and get water. I want to wash my feet. Li Mu rolled his eyes and asked, Do you want me to help you wash up? He was just taking care of this little fox's emotions. Things were different now. Li Mu could let her have her way, but she should not think of ordering him around like a servant. Fantasy Princess didn't show any resistance and said, Okay, do you want to bathe together? Anyways, I owe you countless favors. Why don't you be my empress? I'll use my entire life to repay you. Anyways, Bai Xian has already prepared everything. Li Mu waved his hand and said, Bai Xian is also a heavenly fox. He doesn't care about favors. You don't have to take it to heart. Huan Ji snorted coldly and said, He is not worthy of being called a heavenly fox. Karma is not clear. He will never become a heavenly fox. The ninth realm did not exist in this world. No one could cultivate it. Therefore, there was no need to follow the heavenly fox's rules. Li Mu planned to have a good talk with Huan Ji. Suddenly, he turned his head and looked outside the palace. In the distance, there was an extremely powerful demonic aura. It was quickly approaching. Chapter 487. Outside of Thousand Fox Nation. A silver light streaked across the sky like a shooting star and flew toward Thousand Fox Nation. Along with the silver light came a powerful undisguised demonic aura. Even though they were far away, the demons of the Thousand Fox Kingdom still felt like the end of the world was near. Li Mu and Huan Ji walked out of the room immediately. The primordial spirit of the 10,000 Illusions Lord and Huan Ji's brother, Huan Yun, floated in the air and looked at the silver light warily. Hu Jiao, Hu Lu, and more elders of Meizong sect also flew into the sky. Under the powerful aura, they were terrified. Although they had already taken control of Thousand Fox Nation, no one would forget that they had an even more difficult opponent. Heavenly Wolf Tribe. Dong. Just as everyone's hearts were filled with fear, a deafening explosion suddenly sounded in their ears. A bell rang from the sky. In the sky, the silver light was about to descend upon Thousand Fox City in a domineering manner. However, it seemed to have collided with something and was sent flying back. After stopping, a figure was revealed in the silver light. It was a middle-aged man in silver. A silver wolf head was embroidered on the left side of his chest. That was the symbol of the Heavenly Wolf Tribe. There was only one person in the Heavenly Wolf Tribe who had such a powerful aura. It was the patriarch of the Heavenly Wolf Tribe, the 7th Realm Green Wolf King. The Green Wolf King was a very powerful deterrent in the demon nation. Ordinary demon kings would inevitably feel fear when they heard his name. However, the Green Wolf King was in a sorry state at this moment. His hair was disheveled and his body was suspended in the air. He held his head with one hand and there was a bruise on his forehead. At the same time, there was a flash of light in the sky above Thousand Fox Nation. The shadow of a huge bell appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The bell was so huge that it covered the sky and covered the entire Thousand Fox Nation. The Green Wolf King was sent flying back because he collided with the bell. No one knew what kind of Dharma treasure it was. It could even stop a 7th realm cultivator. After the Green Wolf King was stopped, he looked at the huge bell shadow in front of him and snorted. He formed a seal with one hand and the surrounding spirit chi quickly condensed. A huge ball of light appeared above his head. The ball of light was like a moon. It was hundreds of feet wide and smashed toward the huge bell shadow. Dong. Although the moonlight was huge, it was not worth mentioning in front of the giant bell. After the collision, the moonlight disappeared, But the giant bell only let out a soft sound, like a burp, and continued to envelop the Thousand Fox country. The Green Wolf King looked at the giant bell and finally stopped looking down on it. His attack with 60% of his strength couldn't even shake the bell. This bell was something. A dim light flashed in his eyes. He turned into a stream of light again and drilled into the ground. A moment later, the Blue Wolf King crawled out of the ground with a dark face. The bottom of this huge bell actually formed a formation of its own. It was impossible to use Earth Escape to attack it directly. The Green Wolf King transformed into a 1,000-meter-tall demon with the head of a wolf and the body of a human. Its two extremely sharp claws landed heavily on the bell. The bell only trembled slightly, but it remained standing steadily. The giant wolf let out a roar after a few more fruitless attacks. It raised 100-jong-tall mountain and smashed it down onto the giant bell. The mountain crumbled, but the giant bell remained unharmed. In the Thousand Fox country, both the demon citizens and the powerhouses of Meizong sect were stunned by the scene outside. This was the first time they witnessed the true strength of a seventh realm powerhouse. The Green Wolf King transformed into 1,000 jong tall and used the mountain as a weapon. With a raise of his hand, the mountains collapsed and the ground cracked. Even so, he could not do anything to the giant bell. Seeing that the Green Wolf King was getting crazier and crazier, but still could not do anything to the giant bell, the demons of the Thousand Fox country finally relaxed. They no longer worried and began to watch the Green Wolf King's performance as if they were watching a show. Li Mu looked at the demons in the sky and shouted, "What are you all gathered here for? Don't you need to work? Come down and do what you need to do." The demons dispersed in a hubbub. Only a few figures did not move. The Green Wolf King used all kinds of moves, but no matter if it was a spell attack or a direct attack, he could not break the giant bell. It was the first time he was so embarrassed since he reached the seventh realm. After trying for a while, he finally gave up. His body turned back to normal size and floated outside the giant bell. He said sternly, "Lord of Illusions, you're a seventh realm demon. Do you only know how to hide in the mountains? Are you a fox demon or a turtle demon?" The Lord of Illusions' essence spirit floated above the palace and said calmly, "What does it have to do with you?" The Green Wolf King said angrily, "Do you dare to come out and fight me fair and square?" The Lord of Illusions looked at him and said indifferently, "If you have the ability, come in and fight me." "You coward! Come in first." Separated by a bell, the two seventh realm powerhouses started a different form of battle. Naturally, Lord of Illusions would not go out. He had lost his physical body, and his primordial spirit was severely injured. Now, he had less than 10% of his strength left. He was not much better off than the elder of the Glory sect who had escaped. When his essence spirit fully recovered, he would be able to return to the seventh realm. However, with only the essence spirit and no physical body, his strength would still be reduced. Li Mu did not release the demon corpses. When the sage sect elder escaped, he had exploded his body. The demon corpses were all damaged to varying degrees. It would take some time for them to fully recover. He wanted to refine the Lord of Illusions' body, but after thinking about it, he decided to return it to him. It was better to use his own body than to possess someone else's. The stronger the Lord of Illusions was, the safer Illusion Princess would be. Moreover, since he had reconciled with Illusion Princess, he would not be able to explain to her if he refined her father secretly. After thinking about it carefully, Li Mu looked at Illusion Princess and said, "I have a gift for you." Illusion Princess turned around and asked expectantly, "What gift?" Li Mu waved his hand and the Lord of Illusions' body appeared at her feet. While Illusion Princess was still in a daze, the essence spirit of the Lord of Illusions, who was bickering with the Green Wolf King, suddenly felt something and looked at Li Mu and Illusion Princess. The next moment, his essence spirit turned into a beam of light and entered the body on the ground. The body suddenly opened its eyes. The Lord of Illusions floated up and clenched his fists. He looked at Li Mu with burning eyes and asked, "How did you get my body?" Li Mu said casually, "I picked it up on the way." The 10,000 Illusions Lord could not hide the smile on his face. He did not ask Li Mu about the details. Instead, he laughed heartily and said, "With this body, this seat will be able to recover my strength quickly. Kid, this seat will remember this favor." He flew to a palace and wanted to merge his body and essence spirit as soon as possible. Illusion Princess frowned and looked at Li Mu. She asked, "This is your gift to me?" Li Mu said, "What, this gift is quite valuable, right?" Illusion Princess said unhappily, "This is clearly for my father." Li Mu said casually, "He just stole it. Why don't you go and get it back?" Illusion Princess snorted and asked, "Do you usually give Zhou gifts like this too?" Illusion Princess seemed to like comparing herself with the Empress. But this time she was wrong. Li Mu shook his head and said, "I don't usually give Her Majesty gifts. It is always Her Majesty who gives me gifts." "Oh right, you have to return me that whip. That was also given by Her Majesty. If she asks about it, I will not be able to answer." "Who wants her things?" Illusion Princess returned the whip to Li Mu and asked, "What else did she give you?" Li Mu counted with his fingers and said, "A lot. There are spiritual jades, houses, all kinds of tributes, fulu, treasures, pills, spiritual snails, mirrors, etc. She also personally taught me cultivation, taught Xiaobai, taught Wan, and often gave Wan and Xiaobai gifts." Speaking of the things that the Empress gave him, Li Mu really couldn't count them all in a short time. Not only him, even Wan and Xiaobai received many gifts from the Empress. Illusion Princess took a deep breath. She finally knew why Li Mu was so loyal to the Empress of Great Zhou. She looked at him unhappily and said, "These things I can also give them to you." Li Mu looked her up and down, then shook his head and said, "Forget it, I don't lack anything now. You can keep them for yourself." Illusion Princess stood in place. She understood Li Mu's meaning. Right now, she really didn't have anything. She even had to rely on Li Mu for everything. She was also the Empress of a country, but she couldn't compare to Zhou Yi. She took a deep breath and looked at Li Mu seriously. She said, "My little snake won't lose to Zhou Yi's Li Mu. Just you wait. Although I don't have anything now, soon, what Zhou Yi can give you, I can also give you." Li Mu didn't want to hurt Illusion Princess's fragile self-esteem. He smiled and said, "We'll see." In the sky, the Blue Wolf King stood alone. The moment something happened in Thousand Fox, the Celestial Wolf King sent him a message. After receiving the news, he immediately rushed over. At this moment, he was only one step away from Thousand Fox, but this step seemed to be thousands of miles away. Chapter 488. Thousand Fox Country. In the Yao country, the change of imperial power didn't affect the lower-class Yao citizens too much. Whether it was the Bai family or the Huan family, they still did what they were supposed to do. Now that the Bai clan had been overthrown, what they felt the most was noise. For the past few days, no matter if it was day or night, there would be the sound of bells ringing above their heads. They didn't know when the Green Wolf King would give up. Although they argued, they weren't worried at all. After today, everyone knew that the Blue Wolf King couldn't break in. Although they couldn't leave, at least they were safe. In the sky, the Blue Wolf King's face was haggard and his green eyes were bloodshot. In these 3 days, he had thought of countless ways, but he still couldn't break the giant bell. This bell couldn't be broken by a Realm 7 cultivator. After countless attempts, he had already given up. He turned into a ray of silver light and disappeared into the sky without looking back. In Thousand Fox Country, Li Mu also let out a long sigh of relief. Although the Blue Wolf King couldn't break in, it wasn't a good idea for him to knock on the bell every day. The noise made people so upset that they couldn't even focus on cultivation. In the past few days, Hu Jiao, Hu Lu, and the other Meizong sect elders who were rescued completely controlled Thousand Fox Country with absolute force. As for Bai Xian's subordinates, they all chose to submit after seeing what happened to Bai Xian. The treatment of these people naturally couldn't be compared to the Meizong sect elders who didn't betray them. Their bodies were sealed with demonic arts. If they betrayed them again, their lives would be in Huan Ji's hands. As for the Bai family cultivators, including the Realm 6 ancestor, they were all sucked dry by the Lord of Illusions and became prisoners. After absorbing the lifetime cultivation of a Realm 6 fox demon, the Lord of Illusions' injuries had recovered a little. However, he was still no match for the Blue Wolf King. Therefore, Li Mu couldn't leave for the time being. The number of top cultivators by Huan Ji's side was still too few. As soon as he left, the Blue Wolf King would come back and Thousand Fox Country would be destroyed. Somewhere in front of the Empress Palace, Li Mu sat on the steps, looking at the sky with melancholy. Although the Thousand Fox Nations crisis was temporarily averted, he could not return just yet. At the very least, he had to wait until the Thousand Fox Nation had the strength to fully establish itself in the Yao Nation. Moreover, the Thousand Fox Nation, which was still under the threat of the Blue Wolf King, could not do without him. That old wolf and diabolism would never give up so easily. In the distant Tianlang Kingdom, the Blue Wolf King had already returned to his cave abode. An almost transparent shadow floated in the cave. The Green Wolf King looked at the shadow and said in a low voice, "That old fox, Lord of Myriad Illusions, got a giant bell treasure from somewhere. With that giant bell protecting the Thousand Fox Nation, even I can't break in. That's the treasure of the Fulu School. It's called the Dao Bell. It requires at least 3 experts of the same cultivation level as you to break it open." The Blue Wolf King's expression changed. "Does that mean we can't do anything to the Thousand Fox Nation?" The shadow snorted. "What are you panicking for? At least 2 7th Realm cultivators are needed to stop 3 7th Realm cultivators. Lord of Myriad Illusions will need at least 3 to 5 years to recover to the 7th Realm. As long as I transcend, you and I can work together to break this bell." The Blue Wolf King asked, "It won't be easy for the Honorable Elder to recover. Why don't we invite the other 2 Honorable Elders? The 3 of us can work together and destroy that bell. This time, Myriad Illusions will have nowhere to run." The shadow looked at the Blue Wolf King and said rudely, "Use your wolf brain and think about it. What does the Fulu School's Dao Bell mean to the Thousand Fox Nation? It's a warning from the Fulu School. If the Sage Sect sends another 7th Realm cultivator into the Yao Nation, do you think the Fulu School and the Great Zhou Court will just stand by and do nothing?" The Blue Wolf King was enlightened. "I didn't think of that," the shadow continued. "The Yao Nation's matters can only be solved by the Yao Nation itself. Once one side interferes, the other side will definitely interfere too. At that time, even if the 3 of us work together with you, we won't be able to defeat the Fulu School and the Great Zhou Court. Once that happens, the Yao Nation will cease to exist." When 7th Realm cultivators fought, the destructive power was too strong. It was almost impossible for them to fight head-on. If the 7th Realm cultivators from both sides really joined in the battle, it would be a disaster for the entire Yao Nation. This was something that neither side wanted to see. The Blue Wolf King asked, "Then what do we do now?" The shadow said, "I need to recover my strength first. This requires a large amount of essence, blood and soul. But before that, I need to find a suitable body. I don't know where the Thousand Fox Nation got so many powerful demon corpses. If I can get one." The Blue Wolf King said, "With that bell, it's impossible to sneak into the Thousand Fox Nation, unless..." As he spoke, his voice trailed off. In the Tianlang Nation, the former Great Elder of the Demon Sect, who was cultivating in his cave, received a message that the Blue Wolf King had something to discuss with him. He used to be the Great Elder of the Demon Sect, but now he could only be the Blue Wolf King's guardian. Although the Tiger Demon was unhappy, there was nothing he could do. Without the strength of the 7th Realm, he could only be ordered around like this. He flew to a mountain peak and came to the Blue Wolf King's cave. He saw a soul shadow floating in the cave. After being stunned for a moment, he immediately bowed and said, "Greetings, esteemed elder." As soon as he said that, the Tiger Demon felt a sense of danger. He was only 1 step away from the 7th Realm. He had a vague feeling that made his hair stand on end. It was as if he had encountered a life-threatening crisis. However, this was the Tianlang Nation, and he was in the Blue Wolf King's cave. What kind of danger could there be? The Tiger Demon looked at the soul shadow and seemed to realize something. He was shocked and quickly retreated toward the cave entrance. However, the Blue Wolf King was already standing there. In the Tianlang Nation, a tiger's roar suddenly came from somewhere and attracted the attention of many demons. However, after that roar, there was no more sound. The demons were confused for a moment and began to cultivate again. In the Blue Wolf King's cave, the Tiger Demon stood in front of the Blue Wolf King. He lowered his head and clenched his fists. He grinned and said, "This body is not bad. After absorbing its demon soul, I can at least recover half of my strength. It's up to you now." The Blue Wolf King nodded and said, "Leave it to me." In the Thousand Fox Nation, in the palace hall, the demons were arguing about something. The Bai family had lost control of the Thousand Fox Nation and became prisoners. The demons of the Thousand Fox Nation could not be without a leader. They needed a new king. However, the demons had different opinions about the candidate for the new king. Logically speaking, if it were not for Elder Huan Ji, all the demons present, including Grand Elder Huan Yun, would still be prisoners. With her contributions, it was natural for her to become the new king of the Thousand Fox Nation. However, compared to Huan Yun's strength, Huan Ji's strength was too weak. If the king of a nation was only based on contributions, then Ing Qi should be the king. A fifth realm fox demon said, although we wouldn't be where we are today without Lord Huan Ji, I think the Yao nation is in constant conflict and the Thousand Fox Nation is in a precarious situation. If the king is not at the sixth realm, it will be difficult to convince the public and protect the Thousand Fox Nation. Grand Elder Huan Yun is more suitable for the position. You're wrong. At the front of the crowd, a young man said, when it comes to protecting the Thousand Fox Nation, I'm afraid even Grand Elder Huan Yun is not enough. If a sixth realm cultivator can protect the Thousand Fox Nation, why would all of you be prisoners? In the past few days, these elders had learned the identity of the young man who was often with Lord Huan Ji. He was from the Great Zhou court and had come to ally with the Thousand Fox Nation to fight against the Celestial Wolf tribe. In this incident, he had helped Lord Huan Ji deal with Bai Xian. As for the more specific inside story, they were not very clear. The fox demon looked at Li Mu and said, this is a matter of the Thousand Fox Nation. Please don't interfere. The fox demon was very polite and reasonable. As an outsider, Li Mu should not interfere in the internal affairs of the Thousand Fox Nation. Therefore, he did not say anything else. At this moment, some other elders also spoke. I also think that Lord Huan Yun is more suitable to be the king. I agree. I agree too. That elder's analysis was reasonable, and the other elders also agreed. Although Hu Jiao and Hu Lu wanted Lord Huan Ji to be the king, compared to so many elders, their words were insignificant. Li Mu looked at Huan Ji. Huan Ji shook her head slightly and said, forget it. It's the same if Huan Yun is the king. It won't affect the cooperation with the Great Zhou. To Li Mu, although they were both members of the Huan family, it was too different if Huan Yun or Huan Ji were the king of the Thousand Fox Nation. He and Huan Ji knew each other very well, but he had barely spoken to Huan Yun, let alone understand him. The two sides seemed to be harmonious now, but that might not be the case in the future. If Huan Yun was the king, it was equivalent to planting a huge hidden danger in the future. He did not go through so much trouble to leave the Empress and come here from so far away to help someone he was not familiar with. Li Mu looked at Huan Ji. A woman's words could not be trusted completely. A few days ago, she said that the position of the Empress was reserved for him, but now she changed her mind. Huan Yun originally did not plan to be the king, but seeing so many elders supporting him, and his sister did not seem to have any objections, he was about to reluctantly agree. Li Mu, who was beside him, cupped his fists and said, since the Huan family has regained control of the Thousand Fox Nation, I have to go back. Until we meet again. After he finished speaking, he whistled. The law bell floating above the Thousand Fox Nation quickly shrank to the size of a palm and floated on Li Mu's shoulder. Li Mu's mind moved again, and the 8 demon corpses that were sleeping underground also broke out of the ground and floated in the air. Li Mu walked out of the hall and flew up. He waved at the people who followed him out and said, everyone goodbye. After he finished speaking, he flew out of the Thousand Fox Nation with the 8 demon corpses. The elders of the Thousand Fox Nation looked at this scene in a daze. They never thought that the Law Bell and the 8 superpower houses belonged to this person. Now that the Law Bell was gone and the powerhouses had left, if the Blue Wolf King found out, the Thousand Fox Nation would be occupied by the Celestial Wolf tribe in less than a day. They would have to go through the tragedy that they had experienced before again. Once this person left, they would not have the chance to see him again. Huan Yun was stunned for a moment, then he quickly said to Huan Ji, quickly go and chase him back. Huan Ji flew into the sky and chased after Li Mu. Li Mu flew slowly in the sky. Soon, a familiar aura caught up to him from behind. Huan Ji grabbed Li Mu's wrist and said, what are you doing? Li Mu looked at her unhappily and said, I want to ask you what you're doing. Have you forgotten what I told you just now? If you rely on others, you can only be a queen or a princess. You can only be a queen if you rely on yourself. In order to help you reach this step, I've suffered so much and put in so much effort. Now you want to give up? Are you worthy of me? Huan Ji said helplessly, but that's the decision of all the elders. Li Mu snorted and said, a bunch of 5th level trash. Do they have the right to speak here? Huan Ji said slowly, I'm also at the 5th level. Li Mu said, you have me. Do they have me? He looked at Huan Ji and said indifferently, unless you don't want to be the ruler of the 1,000 Fox Nation, no one can take it away from you. Huan Ji naturally wanted to be the ruler of the 1,000 Fox Nation. At the very least, she wouldn't lose to Zhou Yi in terms of status. When everyone stood on the opposite side of her, there was still one person who stood firmly behind her. She had never felt like this before. Ever since she learned that the little snake was Li Mu, she was very envious of Zhou Yi. Looking at Li Mu, Huan Ji felt a trace of sweetness in her heart. She finally experienced some of Zhou Yi's happiness. She lowered her head and whispered to Li Mu, let's go back. Li Mu didn't really want to leave. He slowly flew back to the 1,000 Fox Nation with Huan Ji. As soon as they landed on the square in front of the palace, Huan Yun said directly, I'm not interested in the throne of the 1,000 Fox Nation. Huan Ji, you should sit there. Then he looked at Li Mu and asked, what do you think? Li Mu smiled and said, this is a matter of the 1,000 Fox Nation. As an outsider, it's not appropriate for me to interfere. Huan Yun smiled helplessly. The veins on the foreheads of the elders present twitched. He didn't just not interfere. Not only did he make the decision, but he also forced them to accept it. Either Elder Huan Ji became the ruler of the 1,000 Fox Nation, or the 1,000 Fox Nation was destroyed by the Celestial Wolf Nation. They could only choose one of the two choices. They didn't have a choice at all. The fox demon who opposed Huan Ji just now squeezed out a smile and said, I'm confused. It's all because of Lord Huan Ji that we have today. She should be the ruler. As soon as he finished speaking, the other elders also agreed. The 7th elder is right. I agree. I agree too. No one is more suitable than Lord Huan Ji, the 1,000 Fox Nation. It was noon today. No matter what the demon citizens were doing, when it was close to noon, they all walked out of their houses and walked to the streets, looking in the direction of the palace. Many people had already gathered at the entrance of the palace. Today, the new queen of the 1,000 Fox Nation was about to be crowned. Chapter 489. Greetings, Queen. Greetings, Queen. Long live the Queen and unite the demon nation. Phantasmagoria was holding her coronation ceremony in front of the palace. Li Mu had just finished communicating with Xianxia on the stone steps in front of a palace. The materials needed to refine the 2 demonic corpses had already been sent over by the messenger a month ago. Because the materials were sufficient, Xianxia, who originally planned to refine the 2 demonic corpses for 49 days, decided to extend the time to 81 days. 9 was the extreme number, and the extreme of 9 was also the limit of the refining time. After 81 days of refining, the 2 demon corpses would be unimaginably tough. Even a true 7th realm cultivator would have a hard time dealing with them. Li Mu sat on the steps. Suddenly, his vision darkened. He looked up and saw Phantasmagoria standing in front of him. She held a scepter in her hand and wore a crown on her head. She wore a red robe that was similar to the Empress Dragon robe, but embroidered on it was the 9-tailed celestial fox. Li Mu was gratified. Under his tireless efforts, this fox had finally become the Empress. It could be said that he had raised her single-handedly. Phantasmagoria looked down at Li Mu and said, "Follow me." Seeing her walk into the palace, Li Mu walked in as well. Phantasmagoria stood in the palace. The top of the scepter in her hand was embedded with a gem that emitted a faint fluorescent light. Li Mu's vision blurred. Suddenly, he appeared in another space. This space was not big. It could not be compared to the Demon Emperor's space or the Emperor's secret garden. But the things in the space made Li Mu's throat move uncontrollably. Magic treasures were scattered all over the place. Spiritual herbs were piled up like a mountain. Just breathing in the medicinal fragrance caused Li Mu's magic power to circulate faster. There were countless spirit jades, and all of them were of high quality. Li Mu saw several millstone-sized treasures with a single glance. This kind of spirit jade was simply a top-grade material for setting up a spirit-gathering array. This was obviously the treasury of the Thousand Fox Nation. Although transcendent treasures were not very attractive to Li Mu, he had never seen so many spiritual jades before. There were mountains of spiritual medicine piled up here, and it was likely that there were more spiritual medicines here than in the Talisman sect and the Empress combined. After all, the Yao nation located in the life state was covered in forests and was rich in natural treasures. In this aspect, the Yao nation had a unique advantage. Phantasmagoria generously waved her hand at Li Mu and said, "Take whatever you like. Is Zhou Yi as generous as me?" Li Mu looked at Phantasmagoria in shock. What was the meaning of this? This little fox who had just been crowned wanted to prove that she was more generous than the Empress. However, it was true that the Empress did not let him choose casually. But with the Empress's support, whether it was spirit jades, magic treasures, or other things, he did not lack. Li Mu waved his hand and said, "You can keep it. I don't lack these." Phantasmagoria frowned and said, "Just choose when I let you choose. Why didn't you refuse Zhou Yi?" The Empress gave him things, not quantity, but quality. Every one of them could be of great use at a critical time. Phantasmagoria was more like an explosive fox. She was generous, but her temperament had not caught up yet. Li Mu did not have the heart to discourage her. He chose some spirit jades and some spiritual herbs before Phantasmagoria took him away. The first thing Phantasmagoria did after she was crowned was to generously bring Li Mu into her little treasure trove and let him choose whatever he liked. She wanted to let him know that she could do what Zhou Yi could do, and she could do it better. When she returned to her bedroom, she saw Hu Jiao and Hu Lu standing outside the hall with worried expressions. She walked up and asked, "What's wrong?" Hu Lu sighed softly and said, "The elders have all returned to their respective abodes to cultivate with the excuse of recuperating. We have too few people who can be used." Thousand Fox Nation had gone through two major changes. Meizong no longer existed. The elders of Meizong and her personal guards were either dead or betrayed her. Now, Thousand Fox Nation only had a dozen or so Fifth Realm cultivators who could be used. They were the backbone of the nation's defense. However, the Demon Nation had always worshipped the strong. Although Phantasmagoria eventually became the queen of Thousand Fox Nation under Li Mu's threat, she did not convince the elders from the bottom of their hearts. Now that Phantasmagoria had been crowned queen, the only subordinates she could truly trust were Hu Lu and Hu Jiao. She lacked her true confidants. If she did not have enough strong subordinates, then the queen's position would be meaningless. After truly becoming the ruler of a nation, Phantasmagoria finally understood the difficulties of being in a high position. Not only did she lack strong subordinates, but she also lacked the corresponding experience in how to manage the affairs of Thousand Fox Nation. It was already so difficult to manage a small demon nation, let alone the great Zhou nation. If she did not do a good job, wouldn't it mean that she was far inferior to Zhou Yi? Phantasmagoria thought for a while and ordered, "Don't worry about the elders for now. Choose some loyal subordinates and form a team of personal guards. I will give you some spiritual jades and distribute them to them so that they can cultivate well. I will take care of the other matters myself." In the past few days, Phantasmagoria was so busy with the various affairs of the demon nation that she did not have much time to care about Li Mu. 5 days later, Li Mu walked into Phantasmagoria's bedroom with 2 snakeskin bags. He threw the 2 snakeskin bags on the ground. Phantasmagoria, who was thinking about how to reorganize Thousand Fox Nation, looked up and asked in confusion, "What are these?" Li Mu pointed to one of the big bags and said, "This bag contains transformation pills. It can allow demons to transform in advance." Then he pointed to a small bag and said, "This bag contains breakthrough pills. It can greatly increase the chances of demons at the peak of the 4th realm advancing to the 5th realm. I refined these using the spiritual medicine you gave me. Choose some subordinates you trust and distribute them." Hu Jiao and Hu Lu looked at the 2 snakeskin bags that Li Mu casually threw on the ground, their eyes shining. Although there were no 5th realm cultivators in their newly formed personal guards, there were many at the peak of the 4th realm. Even if some of them could advance to the 5th realm, it would immediately solve the problem of the queen's personal guards not having any strong subordinates. As for the transformation pills, although they could not create a large number of strong cultivators, the things that demons could do in their human forms were much more than when they were in their beast forms. Creating a group of demons that could transform into human forms would also solve the problem of having no subordinates. Hu Jiao looked at Li Mu expectantly and asked, "Do you have any pills that can allow demons to advance from the 5th realm to the 6th realm?" Li Mu glanced at her and said, "No, we don't have enough spiritual medicine. You should focus on your cultivation. Even if we did, you don't even have a body. It's useless to eat it." Li Mu was already familiar with refining pills of this quality. He had already seen that Phantasmagoria had no subordinates. Even if she temporarily had Thousand Fox Nation, once he left, she would still be easily turned into a mere figurehead. The most direct method was to personally cultivate a group of trusted subordinates for her, just like how Li Mu had done for the Empress. In fact, Phantasmagoria's current situation was very similar to the Empress's 2 years ago. Solving Phantasmagoria's problem was even simpler. In the Demon Nation, the fist was the absolute law. First, he would create a group of strong subordinates for her. Before he left, he would also leave the 8 demon corpses with her as her trump card for self-protection, as well as a deterrent to her subordinates. It would also be a weapon against the Celestial Wolf Nation. In this way, the Demonic Path Holy Sect would not be able to use the Celestial Wolf Tribe to unify the Demon Nation in a short period of time. Li Mu even wanted to wait until Chen Shi and the others finished refining the 2 demon corpses and temporarily hand them over to Phantasmagoria. 2 7th Realm Demon Corpses. 8 demon corpses that were comparable to 7th Realm Demon Corpses after setting up a formation, and when the Lord of Heaven Illusion's strength recovered, Thousand Fox Nation would be able to bring out 4 7th Realm Cultivators. Their top combat strength would not be inferior to the Fugu School, and it would not be difficult to unify the Demon Nation directly. In this way, the Great Zhou Nation would no longer have to worry about the threat of the Demon Nation, and Li Mu would also have fulfilled one of his promises to the Empress. The only thing he had to worry about was whether Phantasmagoria would betray him. Li Mu glanced at Phantasmagoria. He did not believe that Phantasmagoria would do such a thing. If such a day really came, then he would be blind to the wrong fox. He did not think too far ahead for the time being. He walked to Phantasmagoria's side and saw her sitting at the table, writing something densely. Li Mu took a look and realized that she wanted to reform the management of Thousand Fox Nation. After all, the Demon Nation was a demon nation. It did not have a complete official system like the Great Zhou Nation, and many places were very chaotic. It was good that Phantasmagoria wanted to reform, but she obviously did not understand these things. Li Mu was a scholar in the palace and had professional eyes for many years. The reform she proposed was simply a mess, and he could not bear to look at it directly. Phantasmagoria bit the tip of the pen, not knowing how to proceed. Li Mu took the pen from her hand and said, "Get up." He lifted Phantasmagoria up and sat down. Then, he crumpled the paper she had written on and threw it aside. He laid out a new piece of paper, thought for a moment, and began to write. In the end, the Demon Nation was different from the Great Zhou Court. Some things could be used, but some had to be abandoned or changed. Phantasmagoria had always been troubled by these things. She was naturally happy that someone was willing to help her. She stood beside Li Mu and felt relaxed after the burden on her shoulders was lifted. At this moment, a thought suddenly popped into her mind. It would be great if she could keep Li Mu here forever. She just so happened to need someone by her side to help her. Suddenly, Phantasmagoria seemed to understand something, and a look of realization appeared on her face. No wonder Zhou Yi treated Li Mu so well. She recalled the reports of the Meizong spies. Li Mu often stayed in Zhou Yi's chambers. As the Empress, Zhou Yi did not attend to her proper duties and was always gardening. Because she had Li Mu by her side, she did not need to deal with state affairs by herself. Because she had Li Mu by her side, when the Demon Nation underwent great changes that might threaten the Great Zhou Court, as the Empress, she did not need to do anything. Li Mu would naturally clear away all obstacles for her. No matter what happened, there would always be someone standing by her side, supporting her and helping her solve her problems. So this was Zhou Yi's true happiness. Chapter 490. Li Mu had already tested the effects of the Realm Breaker Pill on Green Ox and Tiger King before. After all, it was just advancing from the 4th realm to the 5th realm. As long as one's spiritual power reached the peak of the 4th realm, breaking through was just a matter of taking a pill. However, advancing from the 5th realm to the 6th realm was not so easy. No one could refine pills of that level at the moment, and they also lacked the materials. Otherwise, if Li Mu sent Phantom Princess to the 6th realm with a single pill, who in the Thousand Fox Nation would dare to object? There were many demons under Hu Jiao and Hu Lu who were stuck at the peak of the 4th realm. It would have taken them a few years, a decade, decades, or even a lifetime to cross this step. After taking the Realm Breaker pill, more than a dozen of them successfully advanced in 3 days. Those who did not advance also had their spiritual power greatly improved. As long as they cultivated well, they would break through in these 2 years. Li Mushuan then asked Huan Ji for more medicinal herbs to refine some pills that could increase the dermic powers of the demons. He also raised the overall strength of the demons under her command. In this way, the strength of the Thousand Fox country was finally restored to its former peak. In addition, Li Mu also built a new imperial court for the Thousand Fox Nation according to the personnel structure of the Great Zhou Court. Their previous management was too chaotic. In the future, the demon division would each perform their own duties, and the power would eventually be concentrated in Phantom Princess' hands. There would not be a situation where the Empress's power was just a figurehead. The officials of the demon division would be the demons under her whose cultivation had improved. This group of people was personally promoted by her and could be considered her first batch of direct subordinates. Compared to the previous elders of the Meizong sect, they were absolutely loyal to Phantom Princess and did not have any other intentions. On a flattened mountain peak in the Thousand Fox Nation, Li Mu carefully engraved formation patterns on a huge spiritual jade. Phantom Princess stood beside him with her hands behind her back and stuck her head out to observe. She did not know what Li Mu was doing, but she did not ask. In any case, she knew that everything Li Mu did was for her. There was a mirror erected in front of Li Mu. The reflection in the mirror wasn't Li Mu. Instead, it was the Empress and Ting Xian. Ting Xian, Wan, and Xiaobai would also occasionally come over to take a look. Although Li Mu was constantly facing the monocular, which made him feel uncomfortable all over, this was the Empress's order, so he couldn't disobey. Otherwise, it would seem that he had a guilty conscience. It was not easy to inscribe runes on a spiritual jade. The slightest ripple of magic power would cause the entire spiritual jade to be destroyed. Li Mu was completely focused. The sweat on his forehead was about to drip into his eyes. Phantom Princess took out a handkerchief from her bosom and was about to wipe Li Mu's sweat when an angry voice came from the Thousand Li mirror. "Stop!" Bai Tingxin looked at her angrily through the monocular. Huan Ji's lips curled up. She didn't care and continued to help Li Mu wipe away his sweat. In the Thousand Miles mirror, Bai Tingxin tugged at Zhou Yi's sleeve and said, "Sister Empress, look at her." Zhou Yi's expression was indifferent. She wasn't an impulsive woman like Ting Xian. Mr. Mei had already advised her. Although Li Mu was now in the Thousand Fox Nation, everything he did was for the imperial court and for her. Even if she was angry, she couldn't show it. She couldn't lose her composure as the Empress of the Great Zhou in front of that vixen. On the mountain peak, Illusion Princess put away her handkerchief and said to Li Mu, "Do you want to consider it? Why don't you just stay here? I can give you a bigger residence. You can choose any of the women from the Demon Kingdom's 100 races. You can also take any of the spiritual jades and spiritual herbs in the treasury. I'll also help you bring your little maid and little fox here. Don't you think it's better for your little fox to live here?" Xiaobai poked her head over and said, "I'm not going. Benefactor, don't agree to it." Li Mu shook his head and said to Phantom Princess, "That's impossible." Phantom Princess didn't say anything. She looked into the mirror and met Zhou Yi's gaze. The two empresses of the nation, separated by thousands of miles, still clashed fiercely with each other. There was a hint of provocation in Phantom Princess's eyes. Zhou Yi's expression was still indifferent. However, her hands hidden in her sleeves were already clenched. She snorted coldly in her heart. She would let her be proud for a few more days. When this matter was over, the demon nation would be Li Mu's forbidden land. She wouldn't let Li Mu go to the demon nation again. He would never see that vixen again. This was her last bit of pride. She was the Empress of the Great Zhou. She had to be calm. She couldn't be angered by this wild fox. Phantom Princess looked at Zhou Yi then suddenly looked at Li Mu and said, "The other thing I said, do you want to reconsider?" Isn't being the empress of the Thousand Fox Nation better than being someone else's subject? Zhou Yi couldn't remain calm after stealing her man in front of her. Her eyes flashed coldly as she angrily said, "Vixen, how dare you?" Through the monocular, Phantom Princess was naturally not frightened by Zhou Qiong. She asked, "Am I wrong? One is a subject, working like a cow or a horse. The other is an empress, working like a cow or a horse. Smart people know which one to choose." This fox simply wanted to see the world in chaos. Li Mu glared at her and said, "A real man can support the heavens and the earth. How can I be a woman's empress?" "Give up on this idea." Phantom Princess crossed her arms and said, "You said it yourself. If you become someone else's empress in the future, I'll be the first to look down on you." Zhou Yi said coldly, "What does this have to do with you?" Phantom Princess looked at her and asked, "Why are you in such a hurry? Do you want him to be your empress too?" Seeing Zhou Yi's chest heaving up and down, Bai Tingxin put away the mirror and comforted her. "Empress sister, don't be angry. We won't argue with that vixen. Vixens like to seduce people. You have to believe in him." Xiaobai stood beside her and said with grievance, "Not all vixens like to seduce people." It would have been better if she didn't mention this. When she mentioned this, Bai Tingxin glared at her and said, "You still have the face to say this? You're a disgrace to all vixens. If you knew how to seduce people, you would have a nest of little vixens. What would that wild fox outside do?" On a lonely peak in the Thousand Fox Kingdom, Li Mu finished carving the last stroke and let out a long sigh of relief. He buried several large pieces of spiritual jade in different places and connected them together with runes to form a formation. Finally, he activated it with his spiritual power. This large-scale spirit-gathering formation began to operate for the first time. Li Mu had set up many spirit-gathering formations in the past, but he had always used ordinary spiritual jade. He had never tried using this kind of top-grade spiritual jade. The volume of these spiritual jades was several hundred times that of ordinary spiritual jades. Even Li Mu didn't know what the effects of using these spiritual jades to set up a spirit-gathering array would be. However, since the base of the array was of such a high grade, the ability of this array to gather spiritual energy should be terrifying. The strength of the Thousand Fox Kingdom was still very weak compared to the Celestial Wolf Tribe. Setting up a high-level spirit-gathering formation and allowing demons with meritorious service to cultivate here would not only spur them on, but also cultivate their loyalty. In addition, Li Mu had a little trick up his sleeve. Compared to humans, it was much more difficult for demons to cultivate. Most demons could only cultivate by guiding the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The denser the spiritual energy in a place, the more beneficial it would be for their cultivation. Therefore, any demon with a bit of intelligence would choose to live in a place rich in spiritual energy. A spirit-gathering formation couldn't produce spiritual energy out of thin air. It could only gather the spiritual energy in the surroundings. After this large-scale spirit-gathering formation was set up, the closer to the Thousand Fox Kingdom, the denser the spiritual energy would be. The further away from the Thousand Fox Kingdom, the thinner the spiritual energy would be. Demons without intelligence would instinctively gather here, and demons of all sizes who had already begun to cultivate would also migrate here. Wouldn't it be better to let them walk into the territory of the Thousand Fox Kingdom rather than send people out to attack and occupy mountains? Li Mu's policy for the Thousand Fox Kingdom was to develop peacefully. He wanted to let the demons of all sizes know that the Thousand Fox Kingdom was different from those violent and murderous wolf pups. Phantom Princess stood beside Li Mu and said meaningfully, "You're the real fox." The moment the spirit-gathering formation was activated, many demons in the Thousand Fox Kingdom suddenly raised their heads and looked at the sky. The sky was still the same, blue and cloudless. Nothing seemed to have changed, but something seemed to have changed. While the demons were puzzled, a cry of surprise suddenly sounded. Spiritual energy. The spiritual energy in the surroundings seems to have become denser. A demon sensed it and exclaimed in surprise, "It's true." After sensing it carefully, the demons immediately discovered the reason. The spiritual energy in the distance is gathering here. All the cultivators in the world, be it humans or monsters, were very sensitive to the changes in spiritual qi. Whether the spiritual qi was dense or thin, it had a great impact on their cultivation speed. If the spiritual qi in Jianghu Nation became denser, then their cultivation speed would be improved. At this moment, Almost all the demons in the Thousand Fox Kingdom stopped what they were doing and carefully sensed the changes in the spiritual energy in the surroundings. They wanted to know how dense the spiritual energy here would be. It was related to their future cultivation. Gradually, they were shocked to find that the density of the spiritual energy in the surroundings seemed to have no upper limit. It kept increasing, and the closer they got to a mountain peak, the denser the spiritual energy became. They could imagine how dense the spiritual energy in the mountain peak shrouded in mist would be. How happy would it be if they could cultivate there? The demons in the Thousand Fox Kingdom were suddenly filled with happiness. Far away from the Thousand Fox Kingdom, a transformed demon hid in a cave abode, absorbing the spiritual energy in the world with difficulty. 4 mountain demons and wild monsters like them. Cultivation was very difficult. In the Yao Kingdom, the famous mountains and rivers with the densest spiritual energy were all occupied by powerful demon clans, such as the Celestial Wolf Clan, the Celestial Fox Clan, and the Nine Heavens Serpent Clan. Other demon clans were not allowed to touch them. The remaining places with less dense spiritual energy also fell into the hands of the Leopard Clan, the Tiger Clan, the Eagle Clan, and other powerful clans. Some of the smaller demon clans and the lone demon experts could only occupy the hills where the spiritual chi was thin. The smaller demons who were weak and did not belong to any clan could only find a place to absorb the spiritual chi in the air. The monkey demon was trying to absorb spiritual energy to cultivate as usual. Suddenly, he opened his eyes with a shocked expression. Just now, he couldn't absorb the spiritual energy in the world. Although the spiritual energy here was thin, it wasn't completely absent. He tried again and found that the wisp of spiritual energy had been attracted to him, but it was sucked back by something. He tried several times, but it was the same. Spiritual energy was related to their cultivation. The monkey demon carefully walked out of the cave abode and went in the direction where the spiritual energy disappeared. At the same time, with the Thousand Fox Kingdom as the center, countless demons within a radius of hundreds of miles were slowly approaching the Thousand Fox Kingdom. You're tuning in to the Wisdom Diary YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.